So have you heard of like the ASMR meta on Twitch?
No.
There's been a thing on Twitch, and there was this chick. She basically was throating a fucking mic. And everyone was talking about like, hey man, Twitch is allowing this shit, but banning people for very like obscure reasons. So this is her. This one right here. Let me show you.
Good Lord. What the fuck?
Things that get deleted don't stay deleted. And
why is she going to town on this fucking mic?
I want you to tell me if you saw that on fucking Twitch, you're doing shit like that, and you want to say that like, you know, Twitch isn't promoting like sexualized content. What's up, guys? We're back, and so is Doc Nelson.
Yes.
He had the Rona.
Hey, so did you.
I know I did. And, you know, it's funny because I even said this, like, when you told me to get tested.
Yeah.
I put on that test that I was exposed and tested negative. And then the week after, I came up positive.
I mean...
And then I'm like, I have zero symptoms, like nothing at all.
I was congested.
I wasn't even that. I was nothing. There was nothing off about anything. So I was like, I don't understand how this is happening. And then I went and got tested. I did a rapid test, which came up negative.
Yeah.
And then I took another Walgreens test. Like I took a CVS like PCR test. But on the PCR test, I did say that I had recently tested positive. So naturally, that one came back positive. A couple days go by, I take another one. And I say that I didn't recently test positive. That one was negative. So I'm like, I wonder if I really had it. Because Alicia got tested twice and didn't have it.
So I got my rapid test. I went into sick hall because...
Is that what you took? Was a rapid?
Yeah. And so that morning I got up and ran at 4:30 in the morning, and then I was talking to my HM1, and I sounded like I had been a smoker for 20 years because I had so much shit going down the back of my throat. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go get tested just because, like, cool.
They told you to get tested.
Yeah. Well, because I sounded too much like shit. Our doctors would have had me get tested anyway because they'd be like, oh, he sounds too bad. So, you know, I was congested and sure, like, I had, like, a headache because I just had so much shit in my face. But, like, normal stuff. You know, it's allergies. Well...
In January.
Hey, I mean, it happens. And so they were like, hey, by the way, so, you know, they took a rapid. They're like, hey, we're going to see if the rapid is positive or not. And then before we, you know, stab your brain. It's like, cool. I'm okay with that. They dropped my test and then came back and got another rapid test. So when my HM1 came in and was like, hey, listen, so you got COVID. Here's what, you know, what to do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, he's fucking with me because they dropped my result. Like, I thought he was fucking with me.
What do you mean they dropped your result?
So the lab, when they were going to like take out the sample to, you know, test it, dropped it. So they had to come get another one.
Oh.
Because they need a clean sample. You can't have a contaminated sample.
Right, yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's fine, because the rapid one's only kind of like up in like the nose. You know what I mean? It's not like back.
Way back, yeah.
And so I was like, cool, whatever. And so when he came up and told me that I actually had COVID-19, I was like, oh, he's fucking with me. Like, okay.
And he was like, no, I'm serious.
And he was like, you know, he talked about it. I was like, so, you know, I can get some like meds for my congestion and everything. And he's like, yeah, no, but for real, like you actually have COVID. I was like, what? No way. He's like, yeah. He's like, so quarantine will be about 5 days because that's what the CDC says. I was like, cool, no problem. Let my chain of command know. I'm back at home. I took like 2 steps in my door, get a call from PrevMed. So we're here just to let you know about your 10-day, you know, quarantine.
What happened to 5?
Yeah. NAVPERS says 10 days. So Naval Personnel Instructions says 10 days.
But Great Lakes says... Wait, no, NAVPERS, CDC says 5, NAVPERS says 10.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
So they were like, yeah, so you're going to stay there for 10 days. I was like, oh, okay.
That sucks.
So the first 2 days were kind of nice. The first day, I just slept. Second day, slept in. Real nice. Took a nap. And then, you know, started watching movies, playing games just to do something. And then, like, it was like Thursday. Mind you, my quarantine started on Monday. It was Thursday, and I was like...
I haven't done shit.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
for me, like, because I found out on a Wednesday, and I'd taken, because it was like a 2-day turnaround for our test.
Yeah.
I found out on a Wednesday, and, you know, I found out while I was in class. So I was like,
I gotta leave.
I didn't, no, I stayed.
Oh.
I mean, to be fair, the teacher's on the opposite side of the room from me. We're in a computer lab, super far apart from each other anyway. I'm not around anybody.
Putting public health at risk for your own gain.
Let's be fair. I don't care. I felt fine. I didn't have a reason to believe that I wasn't fine. And I didn't have any reason to believe that this was a real positive, because we've had false positives at work.
Oh, I trust me, I understand.
So I was like, there's no way. If I have it, then it's whatever. It's really mild and or like not existent at all. But there's a good chance, because we've been having false positives at work, that this is a false positive. So,
yeah.
So I mean, there was only like 40 minutes left in class anyway, maybe less. So I was like, I'm just going to finish up class.
Yeah.
Plus, I didn't want to cause like any of the people that were like panicky about it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to freak anyone out. Like, you came here knowing that you were sick. No, I didn't know. So
even still, I don't know. I thought it was a joke, because when I had it, and I understand people out there have it worse and it affects them differently.
Well, for me,
I had a runny nose for like 2 days, man.
I didn't even have that. Like, I'm always stuffed up anyway, so like your symptom is like stuffed sinuses. I'm like, you mean like how I always am?
It was really funny. They were like, "Can you smell anything?" I was like,
"Yes."
I was like, "No," but I don't think that's because it's COVID. I think
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe.
People were joking, like saying you're going to lose your sense of taste and smell, and I'm like, that never happened, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had to tell the school and all my instructors. Like, I told my instructor after, I was like, "Hey, I found out after I left that I had COVID." But I told all my instructors like that I was around on Tuesday, because my test was on Monday. I was like, "Hey, I tested positive, but that wasn't because I had a reason to believe that I needed to be tested. I only tested because work is makes us every week."
Right.
So I wanted you to know that, you know, this is what happened. And then but good thing about now, and in fact, my math teacher ended up having to quarantine because he found out his son had it.
Oh, geez.
And his son was sick, and his wife was sick, and then he got sick. So he had to stay home. So all my classes on Thursday were online. So, which was fine. You know, I had a lot of things to keep me busy. You know, I had streaming, but the only thing that sucked was that I didn't get paid yesterday like everybody else did, because I didn't have any hours to get a paycheck. So work told me that, like, you got to miss, like, you're not allowed back for 12 days. And I'm like, 12 days? And he's like, yeah, and then you got to take another test after a certain time period next week.
See, that's worrisome, though, because a lot of places, or at least a lot of people even told me that they weren't going to test me when I came back, because they were having a lot of people who were totally symptom free. They even got sick and actually had symptoms. They went away like normal, and that they would come back, but because they had it at all recently, they were still testing positive. So
Right.
It's like, do you really have it because you're sick and you're going to spread it, or are you testing positive because you did have it?
That's the thing. That's why, like, from now on, all my tests I'm inputting that I'm just answering no to anything, because I don't have symptoms ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that once you start labeling shit, and even my test results said that our lab shows that you tested positive for an RNA strand virus, which COVID-19 is also an RNA strand virus. Therefore, we believe you have COVID. I'm like, the flu is an RNA virus. The cold is an RNA virus. There are multiple RNA viruses out there that I could be having. Doesn't necessarily mean it's COVID. They're just assuming it's COVID. That's the other thing.
True.
And Doc and Eldridge even said this.
Oh, yeah.
That people were testing positive because the tests were testing flu and cold as positive.
Yeah, 100%. And that came out a while ago too. That people were talking about. They got a flu test specifically, and it said yes, you have the flu, and they tested for that. and then they would go get a COVID test, and the COVID test was saying that they had COVID. They're like, so I have both. I just happen to have both. Like,
that's doubtful.
I doubt it.
That's doubtful. You have both.
So
then like there were these. I remember the CDC was saying the flu Rona. It's a hybrid flu coronavirus. I'm like, the flu is a coronavirus.
So did you notice how quickly that went away though?
Yeah.
The flu Rona. I don't know. Like I'm not.
I'm a conspiracy theorist all the way.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but like,
they're not conspiracy theories. They're spoiler alerts.
I've been hearing that, but it's like there's just a lot of weird stuff going on, and like especially with like information, like. Oh, like how about this? The fact that Congress is addressing Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, the White House, yeah.
I was like,
they want Spotify to act.
I was like, are you telling me that the government is so worried about one dude who sits in his basement? I don't know if it's really his basement.
It's not. It's a studio.
The point is, you're talking about a dude who's essentially sitting in one room of his area, of his house, his place, whatever the fuck it is. He's sitting in this area. In one room, inviting everyone to come in and just talk to him. They just sit down and talk about random shit.
And he talks to everyone from all sides.
Well, it was really funny because people were making a lot of memes about this because the White House was like, well, he's not getting people of all opinions because he's not getting people off the left. I don't know if it was the White House or the news.
And then he has an interview with Bernie Sanders.
Well, he had an interview with Bernie Sanders a while ago, and they're like, well, he's not getting real left-wingers. I was like, I guess Bernie Sanders isn't really on the left then. Shit, guys, sorry.
Sorry, liberals. Bernie Sanders isn't considered on the left.
Apparently, Bernie Sanders is a right winger because everyone that Joe brings onto his podcast is a right winger.
No, it's not the left wingers that they want him to talk to.
Oh yeah, of course.
And which is stupid. The whole thing.
Well,
is
I mean,
stupid.
to be fair, in their defense, the left has never really liked Bernie Sanders. I mean, the people, sure, but like the actual politicians have never really liked Bernie Sanders.
No, they haven't. But he's also had. I mean, he's also had Tulsi Gabbard, who
True.
is a Democrat, and the Democrats don't like her either. And it's weird because it's like you got the government talking about
how one guy is not allowed to.
No, the government talking about like deplatforming a person, you know, like basically infringing on his rights.
Who talks about random shit too. It's not even like he's saying like, oh well, we need to like.
And it's not even him saying it.
Like he's not even the one. Like he's not going out there saying that well, like we need to take violence to people or to the government. Like he's like legitimately riling people up to do dangerous and terrible things. The dude's just talking to people and is high most of the time, and it's just sitting there like, hey guys, so what do you want to talk about today? And then they're like, yeah, that can't be there. Like you're not allowed to do that. I was like, are you serious?
It's spreading a misinformation, and I like how they think that the guy that created the RNA vaccines
is misinformation.
Like,
that was wild.
And they're like trying to fucking discredit that guy. And I'm like, you mean the guy that created the flu vaccines?
Well, a lot of people
or like just any RNA.
It was the mRNA vaccines in general. Like, well, it's also worrisome too, though, because a lot of his podcasts aren't even political at all.
No, they're not. It's comedians and fighters and shit.
Like the times that he's had Neil deGrasse Tyson on, they talk about space and art and time. And
Elon Musk.
He spent 2 hours with Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about calendars. It was an interesting conversation, but like they were talking about calendars that can't be on there.
Calendars. That's
just
it's
blows my mind.
It is wild that the government wants to get involved with someone's fucking podcast. Like, where are they at when it comes to the media lying?
So,
which I understand, the government owns it. I get it.
Well, and I understand,
which is why this sits here.
No, and I understand, but like it's getting worrisome because there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to a lot of it.
I know.
And don't get me wrong, like I don't think it's the left, I don't think it's the right, I think it's both of them.
Yeah, both are equally responsible for all of it.
100%. And it's just weird. It's just I would have thought that the days of people talking shit via like through the government and through the media were gone when Trump got voted out.
I knew it wouldn't stop.
And they
still keep going back to it.
It's just worse.
And now you got the media saying that Joe Rogan's N-word controversy it amounts to January 6th. Is the same as January 6th.
That's wild.
I know, and I'm like, you're really going to compare Joe? Oh no, they're comparing Joe Rogan in general, like to January 6th, or I think it was his N-word controversy. Yeah, that's what it was.
So what was going on with that? So I don't
know. I think it was. They were basically like several instances that were taken completely out of its context because they were things that were said within conversations with somebody regarding the word itself. And just because the word was said is why people are getting pissed, not because he was calling people that.
Right.
He was saying it, which, yes, it is not a good word to say. I don't like saying it,
and I can agree how that's still kind of walking the line.
It's such
like,
it is walking the line. It's one of those things where it's like, it's one of those words like you don't fucking say that word. Like it's just,
and I agree.
It feels ugh to say it.
And I agree, but it's just the idea like.
Am I admitting to that I said it? No, I'm not, because I didn't.
How low do you have to go when you're like, oh, he's spreading misinformation? By the way, hats off to Spotify for saying like, nah, man, we're going to stick by this.
It's funny that Spotify was like, no.
I thought it was really funny when a lot of the artists were sitting there talking about how, well, I'm going to pull my music from Spotify. They're like, cool, you don't make that much money anyway. And like
Neil Young, you don't make shit.
Yeah, seriously. No, that was hilarious because Spotify was like, well, Joe Rogan is like all of you guys put together. So
Joe Rogan makes them so much money. They don't give a fuck. And
I think they also know too that eventually this is going to go away.
You would hope.
Eventually, I'm sorry, but like how many more people are now, cuz it's one of two things. If they don't get rid of him really soon, people are going to stop taking it seriously. And even if they keep talking about it for months and months and months, how many more people that now are going to go watch that podcast because they're like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, a lot. It's going to draw a lot of attention. And like the podcasting is it's a wild thing because podcasting is like it's overtaking the media.
Well, because
it's like it's
a lot of
people
have talked about it too, though. They're like, this is, I forget who it was. I can't tell if it was I can't remember if it was Joe Rogan, someone he had on the podcast, or someone who was talking just about that whole situation. But they were talking about, they're like, we're seeing the death throes of the news media, is what it is. I was like, like seriously, who do you think watches the news on TV?
Nobody. Well, older people.
Old people. And their audience is rapidly dwindling. There are some old people who are starting to go to other sources of media. And the old people who don't go to those older sources of media are eventually going to die fairly soon. So you got to think, though, like, take myself, for example. I'm a relatively average. I mean, I look better than the average person. But, like, take the average person, the average millennial, the average even Gen Zer, right?
They don't watch the news.
Because they're starting to get to the point where they have to encounter this now. I've never paid for cable. Not once.
Neither have I.
I've never paid for a news service. Not even once. And it's really funny.
You mean like news service, like a newspaper?
Yeah, like newspaper, a subscription to like anything like via CNN, Fox News, anything like that to get like updates from them. I don't pay for any of that shit. No. And I'm still relatively just as informed because there's also a lot of individual people who talk about news articles and dissect them on multiple media platforms.
Right. Podcasting especially.
Podcasting, even fucking... It's sad when TikTok gives me more news than the news station does. And
I know.
Because do you know how many people are on TikTok talking about the whole thing with Russia? They're talking about the politics, and they are going through, like, granted in smaller parts, but they are going through articles and like dissecting them down. Hey, here's what the first part of this article is talking about.
That's kind of like what we do for the gaming industry.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's why
we're part of that system of like, hey, there are some weird individuals out there who for some reason think that it's important to talk about this shit.
You know, speaking of which, I have not been uploading episodes to Spotify.
Oh.
Mostly because I just haven't done it.
Now we're YouTubers. Understood.
Which I need to actually, before I publish this episode, I need to backlog all of them. One of the things I've been trying to figure out is that it doesn't seem like the videos are playing.
Oh, what do you mean?
It's just the audio playing. So like I upload the video because now we can have videos on Spotify.
Nice.
So some of the episodes videos will play. But I've noticed lately, the last few that I've put out, Doc says that they have been. But when I try to look, they're not. So like the videos just won't play.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know either. I don't know why.
Granted, I don't watch most of our episodes on like Spotify either, so
No, I mean the reason why I did it
not
was
since
because
the Nuttin' Nap.
and the nut nap. The reason why the reason why I post the videos on there is because I don't have to compress the audio and then put it just the audio. I can take the video that I've edited and post it, and the audio and the video will be on Spotify.
Right.
And the other reason why I wanted the videos on Spotify was because what if not everybody's on YouTube? What if most of the listeners are on Spotify? They don't have to go to YouTube if they don't want to. And if let's say they can't watch the video and they want to close their phone out, the audio will still play versus YouTube unless you pay for YouTube, like Red or whatever.
And that's still upsetting.
I know. The one thing that everybody's been wanting in YouTube is like paywalling it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, I've given it some thought.
What? Getting YouTube Red?
Yeah.
I did a free trial and it was actually nice because there was no ads on anything and like I could play the audio.
Well, I was thinking about that and I was like, all I would have to do gross. All I would have to do is just get rid of like my Netflix or something that I don't really use anymore. And then not losing really any money. I'm just changing a service.
Right.
So I thought about it. I haven't done it yet.
But back to the whole thing about like podcasting being like the new age of news media, and it really is, which is why I've been trying to like grow. Like I want this to be bigger than it is. It's just I'm not good at the whole networking part of this.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on, help me. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not really good with the whole like expanding and networking and shit. Like I know how to network. I mean, I was really good at it when I first started when I wasn't working. But now that I'm in school and working and just my whole my whole
I mean, try to make friends in different places, man. I mean,
and that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to like get to know people I want to get more guests.
Because really all it takes is like one person to be like, hey, I'll try that out for you. And then suddenly you're like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, I know. And it's weird because the name Blacklisted Gaming is known in a lot of communities, but most of the people aren't tuning in. So it's weird. It's one of those things where people know me, they've heard of me, but they don't really consume the content. Now the streams are another story. The streams, like, I get a lot of people on my streams, but not a lot. I mean, more than what I used to, I should say.
Oh, fair.
And it's in the reoccurring, viewers are consistent and they're the same people.
Nice.
Which is great.
Yeah,
but when it comes to when it comes to this stuff, this is the stuff that really, what I started with, and most of them don't listen to podcasts, so they don't consume this content.
That's still not necessarily bad though, because then that means that you're going to have two different audiences, and that's still okay.
And that's kind of why I've stayed with streaming. I started streaming because I was like, I don't have any podcast content to put out there, so I started streaming. And then it just kind of grew. So now I got two audiences, one for streaming, one for this. And they know that I do both. And that's where, I feel like it's good to have...
That will still help grow both audiences, though, because then there's going to be some people who tune into streams. They're like, hey, if you don't like streams as much, he's got a YouTube channel where his, uploads go into.
Right.
Or vice versa as well. They're like, hey, I've been consuming this YouTube podcast or Ucast, I don't, whatever. And Tubecast. And so... they'll be like, "Oh, cool! Hey, I'm gonna jump into a stream at at some point. Cool, let's go." So I think that's a good thing overall. But
it's good to have multiple media platforms because you broaden your audience in multiple places. I'm really bad at posting on Instagram and TikTok. I used to be pretty good at TikTok. I have a hard time with. Everyone's like, "Dude, you need to make TikTok videos," and I'm like, I just have a hard time bringing myself to make the dumbest fucking video possible. Or not dumbest video, but like all my content that I put on TikTok is shit that I edit. And it's very time consuming, and I don't have much of that. And
again, that'll get better once certain things clear up. You just got to kind of roll with the...
I know. I keep saying that I want to do more, and I do want to do more. It's just I'm one person, and doing more, just me, is fucking hard. But you know what's not hard? My penis. I'm just kidding. But that is also true. That's not.
I don't know if I believe you.
I'm hard right now. I'm playing with my pee-pee. So we're going to talk. So you guys, we've been talking for about 25 minutes now.
Awesome.
And not a single news topic has been talked about. And the reason,
but we did talk about Brock's penis.
We did talk about my wiener. There wasn't much this week for news, but we had to kind of scour the internet for some of this shit. But we're going to be talking about Battlefield again because that just is a horse that won't die.
Yay.
And this is actually not really about the game itself. This is more of what EA had to say about why it wasn't successful. And
they blamed everything except for the fact that their company sucks.
They blamed it. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
They even blamed Halo. They blamed COVID, which is, I get it, working remotely makes development harder. But they also blamed Halo for it not being successful. And I'm like, huh. And then they actually did respond to this thing that has been come out. What they said. So does this look like Nathan Fillion to you?
Nah.
I always thought that the Battlefield 2042 guy always looks like Nathan Fillion. I don't know what it is about him. Also, Nintendo announced that the 3DS and Wii U eShop stores will shut down in March. 2023.
Still.
So it leaves everyone wondering, like, okay, what's to be done with these games once that shuts down? Like, how are we able to get them any other way? And the answer is no.
Wow.
Nintendo really likes to do this thing where they have like limited time to get their content, their games and stuff. And the reason why is because if they basically put like a time limit on when you can get it, it'll boost up its profits.
Its value, yeah.
It makes it more valuable for the consumer because the consumer will be scurrying out to try to get these games if they really want them because they know they're not going to be able to get them anywhere else. And after this date in March 2023, they won't be able to, Oh, yeah, and here's this. Starting in May of this year, it won't be possible to add funds to the eShop via credit card. So
you're talking about the eShops for these consoles?
For these games. So you can't actually even after May, you won't be able to like add funds to it to buy it. They'll just be there.
I mean, I guess that's also kind of, I understand that. If you're going to shut it down, don't.
Why shut it down?
I'm just saying, if you're going to, don't allow people to accidentally put money in it. And
so we got some Cyberpunk news this week, and the Cyberpunk news is that the game officially launched now.
See, I don't know. I'm kind of viewing Cyberpunk, even though it wasn't quite as... I don't think it was as bad as people proclaimed it to be.
It wasn't bad. It just was horribly polished.
Yeah, 100%.
It wasn't ready.
Yeah, no, and I agree. But, like, I don't know. I kind of hold it in the same standard as, like, we were talking about No Man's Sky. It's already dead. No one cares.
That's not true. No Man's Sky has a lot of people on it.
Yeah, and those aren't people anymore. Because they decided to...
I played it. Come on.
You're not people. They decided to invest in a game that was dead as fuck. Because...
I gotta give it to them.
I can't support the reason why is because I do not want to support a game. If you're not willing to finish your product the right way the first time, you don't deserve for people to like your product. I don't care how you polish it up afterwards. It's garbage because you fucked it up.
The both these games kind of fell in the same into the same like cycle of too ambitious for what it could do. And
I understand that, but back in the day, those were just failures.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Like 100%. Like, I'm not saying like, burn down the studio. I'm just like, no, I mean, some of it's okay. Though.
The creators of No Man's Sky could have easily just let the game go and then just let it lie and let it die. But they didn't. They actually improved it significantly, which I appreciate.
And I'm not saying that
the game is fun. Like,
and I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
Let me like things.
No. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't improve stuff. It's like games like Ark definitely improved from their day one or from their initial starts. But like my issue with it though is that they clearly released these games, both Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky, in completely unfinished shamble states. And they were like, oh, but we can fix this. Yeah, go fuck yourself, bud. Like then you shouldn't have released the game.
Well, the So what I mean by Cyberpunk officially released today is that the next gen update.
Right. No, and I
came out
get what
today.
you're saying. I'm just saying.
No, I'm letting them know. So the next gen update rolled out. What was it? Yesterday, and or it was earlier in the week. But like, it's kind of divided people. On one hand, people are appreciating because the game really does have quality of life improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Like the AI is much better. Like the like when you pull a gun out at people, they kind of freak the fuck out and run. And if you start shooting, like they'll start running, and random NPCs might be armed and start shooting back.
That's kind of cool.
There are times where like a random gang faction will roll up on you and try to kill you and stuff. And like apparently the AI is much more intelligent. Their actions are much more randomized. Graphically, the game looks significantly better than it did. So quality life improvements like for the map, for the user interface. But the one thing that people are complaining the most about is that there is no new content. So all this new content that they've been waiting for, the next gen update came out first, which I understand they probably prioritize optimization over content, which is fine. But this far out, the game came out December 2020.
Yeah.
And then here we are, February of 2021 or 2022. Damn. Damn. February 2022, we're a year and some change after its launch, and there is still no new content. It's just, an optimization.
It's polished now.
It's more polished. So and that just goes to show this game should have been delayed an additional year.
Yeah, 100%.
It needed it. It needed it.
And the reason why I don't want people to make these things popular isn't because I don't want you to enjoy the games. Like, yes, Brock, you're allowed to like things, but it's because
but make it better before you launch it.
Yeah, 100% though. But that's my issue though, is because now, like, how many people aren't going to play a game at all because it's shit? It's like 100%. I am not playing No Man's Sky.
Right.
And they had a chance at one point to sell me on it way back, probably when it released, and they probably shouldn't have. They should not have released it.
Delaying games is such an odd. It's a double-edged sword in ways, because on one hand, a delay in a game means okay, they want to have more time to make it better.
Yeah,
like Dying Light. Dying Light was delayed numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it got delayed indefinitely for one period of time, and there was no new information about it for like a year or so. Right. I remember in 2019 talking about Dying Light, and it had a release date coming up in like 2020 or something like that, and then they delayed it because they needed more time to fix it. Then COVID happened, and the news about Dying Light's new release date was never talked about again. In fact, there wasn't really any new footage. The footage that they showed, in fact, if you look at the reveal of Dying Light 2 versus what the game is now, not even the same. The writing is completely different. And the reason why is because they went through 3 writers. The original writer for the first writer that they brought on was a writer for The Witcher. He wrote some narrative parts of the Witcher, like in the side quests and stuff, and he was the writer for Dying Light 2. And his vision of it was your decisions that you made, more of the decisions that you made were going to be more impactful, to the point where there would be like actual consequences, like how we talked about the people of the Bazaar and the Peacekeepers. Like your decisions could lead to civil war between them both, where they were fighting in the streets and shit.
Man, I would have loved to see that.
But
because I want the people of the Bazaar to
he ended up leaving, or something happened. He ended up leaving, and they brought in another guy, and that person left.
Oh, so they boiled it down further and further.
Until they got to the third writer, and now one of the biggest shortcomings of Dying Light 2 is its narrative.
True.
So the original writer versus the writer they have now.
Maybe that's why there was such a tone shift from the beginning, where it was like super depressing. Which, by the way, awesome atmosphere for the beginning. But like, then you get past the beginning, and it's like, oh, there's a zombie, and apparently Aiden can't lift a door, and look at the same
Do
time.
you ever find it odd that people are just kind of roaming around in the streets and there's zombies everywhere still? And they're just like living life as if it's just like a fucking raccoon just hanging out.
Honestly, how about this? So,
but you know what? Maybe on one hand, after 15 years of something like that, you probably would get used to.
I'm questioning as to how there's still so many zombies.
Oh, you mean
after 15 years?
Died off?
Yeah. I understand that, like, oh, well, we've seen a couple of new people get infected throughout the game, right? Cool, and that's fine, and we totally know where those zombies came from. Yes.
Go on.
And so, cool, like, we know where those came from. And I'm not expecting, like, something like the volatiles in the buildings. They seem a little bit more alive, you know what I mean? So I can understand why, like, oh, okay, cool. Those things aren't going to just immediately die off. No problem, right? But, like, you're telling me that the zombies in the streets that are missing arms, that are, like, missing chunks off their body, that those wouldn't just eventually start to disappear and turn into the corpses that don't move?
Right. That's
like 15 years of this, and you're telling me that there are still just as many zombies?
You got to think of, and I get you where you're coming at with that. It's one of those things where you got to turn the logic off in your brain.
No,
for
and
that
I
portion
understand.
For the sake of the game needs content for you to continue playing.
No, and I understand, but the issue that I have with Dying Light 2, apart from like any kind of bugs, we're talking just about the game and the narrative and everything going on, is that the zombies aren't threatening.
No, during the day, no, they're not.
Even during the night.
Nah, during the night they've got more howlers than Dying Light 1 did.
No, and I understand.
There's literally howlers within 20 meters of each other everywhere.
No, and I understand that, but the difference is though is that I noticed as soon as I got the UV lamps in my hand, throw one down, they scatter.
Oh, you get a UV flashlight too.
I haven't gotten the UV flashlight.
The UV
yet.
flashlight, because it's very limited to like its battery dies quick,
and that's fine. Like,
it
I get
recharges,
that, right?
But it's good. Like, let's say you have a viral that's like a sprinting viral, come at you. You just flick it on real quick, and they just stumble and they stagger, and then you can get an advantage on them. But
there's portable ones that you like throw down.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I got those, I made a lot of them, or as many as I could at the time. And even if I was being chased, oh no, my stamina's out. Plop.
So
my UV.
Dying Light 1 was similar in that same way, where it was like at night. Nighttime was only intense for like the first third of the game, and then once you finally leveled up, you just didn't give a shit anymore. You could literally fight them all on waves. It didn't matter.
Well, because
and like going in buildings is no longer really that. I mean, it's still kind of intense because I don't know where anything is. But before, when I first went in at the low level, I was like really trying to not alert anything.
Stealthy, snap necks.
Yeah. And just quickly get in, get the fucking inhibitors, and get out.
Yeah. And no,
now I just go through and I just chop everything. I don't go fuck.
And mine's the same. Like what we would do is that, at least when I was playing with my friends, we would go in there. You know, sure, crouch, snap the first couple of necks just because they're nice instant kills. You know, save your weapons as much as possible, and then as soon as we get to a point where you can no longer kind of sneak around them. You know what I mean? One person drops a molly or they drop a grenade or do whatever. Boom, you slice up the last couple, and then you just walk up to the box, fucking take it and leave.
There's apparently a volatile nest in one of these missions.
And that's cool, but
I have yet to see.
But again, during the day though, and I understand that maybe there was a fuck ton more zombies when society first collapsed.
Didn't Dying Light 1 have a lot more
zombies?
Yeah. I think that was also because it was really early.
It was new, yeah. But it's just the idea that in the first one they grabbed you more often.
Yeah.
In the first one, I don't know. There was that air of confusion of people didn't know what to do because they're zombies out of nowhere. Holy shit, right? You're telling me 15 years and we got zombies that wander through the street, poke me once, and then
fuck off. Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't seem threatening at all.
The only real threat are the damn renegades.
Yeah, the renegades, or sometimes the big dudes, because when they spawn 3 of the big dudes, the memes about that have been fantastic. But sure, when they spawn a bunch of the big dudes, sure, that's a pain in the ass, as it should be, because they're big motherfuckers. They're monsters. They got a wrecking ball on one hand. Like,
or you come across the other big dude that's he doesn't have a wrecking ball. He just sprints and throws shit at you.
yeah, and like that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that.
But you can cheese those very easily. You can like hide behind a structure and watch him throw this rock mindlessly at you or charge at you, and you just and you can avoid him and just nitpick at him and then go behind something else. And there was one where it was pretty intense at first, where you're in a church, you're in this cathedral, and which is where I'm at now, and the guy that's there releases one of those big fucking things at you, and he's one of those that charges that he runs at you and he throws shit at you. But there's pillars all over the place, and you stand behind a pillar, and he just doesn't. The thing doesn't know what to do. It doesn't run around it and chase you.
Yeah. See, I would have liked it if they made more of the zombies. Maybe not like sprinters and parkour shit. You know what I mean? But I would have appreciated it a lot more if let's say you fell on the ground, right? I want the zombies to kind of sprint after you, but now they just kind of like lazily walk around. And I understand it's the daytime, they're suppressed by the sunlight, but like there's no threat during the daytime unless you are fighting some of the big guys or it's at night and you have a volatile like on your ass. Like the game's not threatening at all. Even the human enemies are jokes.
Yeah,
especially like
when you come across random bandits and shit, and you're just like,
as soon as I got a bow, I made a bunch of infected arrows, and it was hilarious to just pop each one of them and fucking leave. And then from my
what do they do? Just turn?
Yeah, they turn. They turn into the sprinters, just the infected. And it takes a minute for them to turn though too. They don't just immediately like boom. Okay, they're zombies, right? They'll like
some of the renegades just turn when you're fighting them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll randomly turn.
Oh shit! But
I found this out because I drop kicked one, and then he got back up and he turned. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
That's
I didn't
cool.
expect. He started attacking the other guys.
I think that is cool though because it shows that yes, people are infected, and you know.
Well, the renegades are different from everybody else. Those guys have something going on with them. I don't know what it is yet, but if you notice, the renegades are like on the cusp of turning anyway.
Well, I
mean, notice they got the black veins and shit.
Oh, true, yeah.
And they
like
don't,
experimentation.
They almost don't sound human.
Yeah, they and I understand like some of them do fit the stereotype of like the big tough guy who's kind of dumb, you know. But like Herman seems smarter than most of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Herman, yeah.
Again, you know, Herman. I get it. Herman's deaf, and so it's kind of hard for him to like communicate. But like even he has like more of an air of intelligence about what's going on than a lot of the renegades. Even the renegades who talk.
Well, the renegades, I think that's by design. Renegades they just seem to be very, I don't know,
like you said, on that cusp.
On the cusp of turning anyway. So the point where they're just very, they're not completely human.
Yeah.
So that makes sense for them. But on the other hand, the renegades, they are harder to fight.
I haven't noticed too much of a difference.
Go to their territory and fight them.
Okay.
Like it's down at the very bottom right of the map. It's a very southeastern part of the map where the cathedral is and the other water tower is. There's a whole like section of the map that is controlled by renegades.
Yeah.
It's like across a bridge. So when you're in the central loop and you go down in the southeastern part of the central loop and you look, you see this giant like church and all that stuff. Yeah. That's all renegade territory.
Okay.
And they're everywhere.
But yeah, no, the issue with it though overall is that like I got like those infected arrows. Pop them with the infected arrows. I climb a building, literally watch them turn, and then they just like because they don't know I'm there at that point because
they scatter.
Because I'm like up 3 stories, which admittedly I wouldn't know where you went either if that happened.
Yeah,
to me,
no, you're not going to think someone's going to go that high,
right? And that's fair, but yeah, and so they turn into zombies and they just scatter, and which is again totally understandable. But point is that like it just doesn't seem difficult. Sure, there are certain parts of the game, obviously, like I remember being really tense about like trying to find the explosives when there's like the 4 big dudes. And it's really hard because you have to like, get into the boxes without a normal zombie coming up to you or the big dudes getting up, right? And that's
picking
fair.
Locks and shit.
But you also can't use like your maximum amount of force, like throwing Molotovs or explosives, because then you just attract more zombies, and that's fair. But like past something like that one stick out point to me, like it just doesn't.
I got to give him props on map design though.
No, and I love the map.
The map, like, just...
I also love the idea of that the chemicals speed up your process of turning.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, oh, my health. It's like, oh, this isn't necessarily, like, outright killing me, but because I'm infected, it kind of is.
And it causes you to use those fucking inhalers and shit.
Yeah, it causes you to do that kind of shit a lot, too. I love the idea that what they did with some of the resource management, you have your big ones like the inhalers, but if you're smart enough to pick up like everything that you find, then you get a bunch of those UV mushrooms that you can use instead of like blowing through your inhalers every time you go inside.
I have so many UV mushrooms.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I did too. And I as soon as I learned that, granted it wasn't very far in, but like I was like, oh, that's neat as fuck. So now I don't have to waste my important shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
like,
the mushrooms will give you like a little bit, you know,
yeah,
to give you
and
time,
and
and that's
you can use
enough
them.
to keep you going, at least getting through it.
Oh yeah, and considering that there's a lot of them, so if you pick shit up,
Resource management in that game is
pretty good. Like
it's important, especially because weapons break down.
I will say that I am very sad that I can't repair the weapons.
Yeah,
because
you can only repair them by modding them, and if you mod them, you can't replace the mod or repair the mod.
Mm-hmm.
So
does that mean that because I never tested this out really, but so does that mean like if I modify like the tip of like an axe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Its durability goes back up, right?
Yes,
and then if I modify the shaft and like the pommel, will it go back up each time?
You can only modify it once.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So like what I typically do is I find one that's got a decent damage level and I'll use it once it gets to a certain level, and I have like a couple of decent leveled mods in the hole. I'll add them and then increase its durability back to where it was.
Oh, okay.
So I can increase its longevity. But like if you use low level mods on like a artifact weapon, that's it. So all the weapons break down. There are no weapons that you can repair and just keep them, because it wants you to keep cycling through all different ones.
Well, I also didn't mind in Dying Light 1 how you were able to repair them a couple of times.
Yes.
And then after that, that was it. They just broke.
Yeah, and this, like, the modding is the repair system.
In fact, I wouldn't even mind if, like, they did it to where, like, your, like, really high rarity items, like the ones that are, like, gold, or I don't know what, you know, like the best weapons. I wouldn't even mind if it was like, hey, you can't repair them. You have to mod them to get that repair and, you know, whatever. But it sucks to have, like, a decent, reliable weapon and then gone.
I know. I've had few of those where I'm just like, this is like a rare weapon, and now it's just gone.
Yeah. Except for the bows, though. The bows don't break down.
They don't.
That's handy. That's handy as fuck.
It is handy. So next topic, because you know we've fucked off on Dying Light for like 25 minutes.
The bugs aren't too bad, but I ran into a bad one.
Well, yeah, you did. In fact, you ran into one so bad that you had to completely restart,
I had to completely
which was
the game.
Actually my biggest complaint about the game is that it auto saves and you cannot load the game.
And because of that, I had to completely restart over.
And you were like 20 hours in, you said?
Yeah, I was like 20, 21, 22 hours in, and it told me that I had to go to the objective area. But it spawned me like 500 yards away when I logged back in. And it would count down from 5 seconds and then kill me. But it wouldn't spawn me any closer. And so I was still 500 yards away. I tried teleporting to wherever I could.
You mean like fast travel?
Yeah, like fast travel. I tried fast traveling somewhere else. I tried getting wherever I could and nothing. So even when I would invite people in, so I thought, oh, cool, I'll just get my buddy Luke in here and I'll have him run towards it, right? I'll die over and over, have him run towards it, get there, and maybe he can do something. Maybe it'll even teleport me. No, it killed him too. It would count down for 5 and kill him too. Everyone I invited in. So it would spawn him where I was being spawned at. So it wouldn't spawn him closer either. So yeah, I had to completely restart the game. I don't know if I'm probably gonna go back through, but I'm not in a rush to fucking
just make different decisions.
Oh, yeah. So the first time I was playing like a nice guy with everybody, and
just be an asshole.
And so, well, not just about being an asshole, but honestly, this time around, I'm probably gonna side with the PKs up until I get to the central loop because I hate everyone in the bazaar.
Yeah.
Because the bazaar people are all dickheads.
They are,
and like you get betrayed several times by the people in the bazaar, and I have no loyalty towards them. Sure, I understand that maybe they tried to hang me because they were scared and they thought I was a zombie, whatever. One, what made you think that hanging a zombie was going to work? Two,
I thought that too. I'm like,
two-
I'm turning and you want to hang me?
two, fuck you guys. And three, the people who are in charge of them are complete assholes. Fuck Barney. Fuck his fucking sister. I can't remember her name. Herman's cool, but
Yeah, fucking
like-
big lug Herman.
like
Herman.
they fucking betray you like 2 times,
I
even
know.
when you side with them. So no, I'm definitely going to go with the PKs, especially considering I found out you can kill Barney if you go with the PKs. So I'm killing Barney.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, so and that's actually been the only real bug I've come across. And that's the shitty part too, is that
It's just that kind of bug.
yeah, it like
It wasn't like T-posing or something. It was
yeah, I didn't
a
have
game-breaking bug.
I didn't have
that-
any other mission fuck ups. I didn't have any like zombie enemy ally fuck ups or anything like that. No dialogue or physical glitches.
The one bug that it was like a progression bug in a way, where it was that when you first go to the bazaar,
Mm-hmm.
it says talk to the people at the bazaar. You talk to all the people that you can, and then it still says talk to them, and you're like, who else do I have to talk to? And it's a while before that part of the quest continues. Like you pretty much have to leave the bazaar and start doing a mission,
Oh,
and
okay.
then they like I spent like an hour trying to figure out who the fuck I'm supposed to talk to.
I didn't run into that because when I first started
Well,
talking to people
the
at
icon
bazaar,
kept showing me to go to the bazaar and talk to people, and I'm like, I've literally talked to everyone
I thought that it
I
wanted
can.
me to do a side mission first, so I went and did a side mission with someone, and when I came back, it was like cool and just progressed me.
That's
So I
kind of
didn't-
what happened.
so I
Like,
didn't
but it was
really-
confusing. It was like talk to the people at the bazaar, but it was like I talked to everyone. You think that after talking to someone,
What do you want?
now what?
Yeah.
So let's talk about speaking of games that we're talking about game delays and shit.
Yeah.
You didn't know about this till I brought it up, but those of you guys that are pirate fans know of the game that Ubisoft is making called Skull and Bones. And if you don't remember, it's okay because they announced it in 2017 and then delayed it indefinitely and never talked about it again.
Good Lord.
But there are still a handful of people out there that are wondering what the fuck is up with this game. So basically, it's a pirate simulation game, and Ubisoft says that don't worry, the game is still in development and it still exists. So,
It still exists.
in weird news this week, we're going to talk about this one chick. She's a pro gamer, and she was fired because she said men under 5'7" do not have human rights. And if you look at her, she's not an attractive lady herself. She's actually quite strange looking. So yeah, she's a professional Tekken player, which I haven't played that since the fucking 90s, but okay. So, and while Nelson takes his piss, we'll be right back. I'm going to make myself another cup of coffee. So anyway, we're back, guys. So there's another topic I actually thought about that I kind of want to talk about. I think that you would enjoy. So do you know what an ASMR stream is? Do you know what ASMR is?
Yes.
So have you heard of like the ASMR meta on Twitch?
No.
So lately there's been a thing. There's been a thing on Twitch, and there was this chick. She basically was throating a fucking mic.
Jesus Christ.
And everyone was talking about like, hey man, Twitch is allowing this shit, but banning people for very like obscure reasons. And actually, I think she got banned from. Yeah, she got banned from Twitch. Let's see. Let's see. Actually, I want to talk about this bitch real quick. Oh, yeah, she got banned from Twitch after her video of her doing this went viral. Her name is Save a Princess. Let's,
What?
why is this going back and forth? Just go back to Google, fucker. Did you see that?
Yeah.
It was like going up and down the fucking Save a Princess.
Why? I just can't understand why you would want to like.
So this is her. This is her photo. This one right here. or right here.
Yeah.
This is the video. This is the video that she went viral for on fucking, because she does ASMR streams, and let me show you.
Good Lord.
Let's see. Here's the video. Oh, she deleted the video. Oh, no, she didn't.
What the fuck?
Things that get deleted don't stay deleted.
Oh, stop that. Jesus.
And
why is she going to town on this fucking mic?
now tell me, I want you to tell me if you saw that on fucking Twitch, like you're doing shit like that, and you want to say that, like, you know, Twitch isn't promoting like sexualized content. I mean, she got banned, so there's that. But
yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, it's just if this shit's gonna pop up on your platform, I feel so bad for Twitch in the sense of like, how many people have to do fucked up shit like this before you're just like, fuck it, whatever.
Well, the ASMR meta has been very like strange, because if you go to Twitch, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if you go to Twitch. And I'll pull this up and I'll show it to you. Oh, what happened? What happened to my... Oh, man, my fucking Stream Deck went crazy just then. Give me a second.
Shameful.
It swapped profiles on me. That's never happened before.
Swapped profiles?
Oh. Here. My Stream Deck has a podcast, so I can switch cameras.
I gotcha.
So now I'll go to Twitch, right? And I'll put in ASMR. Right? So I go to ASMR, and it is just loaded with shit like this. Like these chicks with these ear microphones. And it's all like, tell me that this shit isn't like sexualized in some way or another. And then you get this. Here's what the microphone looks like. It's got an ear on each side, right? So I go to the category. And it is nothing but... I mean, that one... What is that? Massage ASMR? That's weird. You know what would be a cool ASMR? Chiropractic. On Twitch. But, like, it's all these...
You know someone's going to make a lot of money off your idea just then.
I hope so. I'm not a chiropractor, so I can't capitalize off that.
I
but
mean,
if you are a chiropractor, you sure as fuck can.
I mean, chiropractic's not real.
Oh, dude, I know a bunch of guys in the airborne community that swear by it.
Yeah, like I also know a bunch of people in the Marines who say don't eat the fucking pink starburst because it brings bad luck. I mean, doesn't mean you listen to them.
I've never heard that.
Like random superstitions.
That sounds like a Marine thing, 100%.
Point is what I'm saying though is that there's not a whole lot of like science backing up chiropractic. So it's
a placebo effect.
Oh, 100%. So I'm not saying that cracking your back can't feel good, but like they there's a lot of misinformation about chiropractic about how people are like, oh well, we're gonna readjust your spine because your posture curves or slouches your spine, or we can fix this like deviation. I was like, dude, do you understand that like I played football for like 14 years? You're like, if that didn't bend or break my spine, me running into people as fast as I can possibly go, you pressing hard and making my back crack.
But
it
feels
bit.
good.
I mean, sure, some of it does, but I'm just saying, like, it's not going to fix your problems.
No, it's not going to fix it, but it's going to make it not suck as much.
And not really. It doesn't fix your long-term pain at all.
Let me fucking live, Nelson.
No, it's a false form of medicine. I don't like it.
Well, you know what?
And on TikTok, I've seen some asshole going on, doing that shit on like fucking animals. He's like, it helps them. I was like, no, it doesn't. And they're not like us. We're like, oh, a placebo effect. Like they think it's helping. No, it doesn't. You're just torturing animals.
I've seen a guy where he had a really bad back issue where he was like literally hunched over, and months of chiropractic work straightened his back up.
No, that is muscle problems because chiropractic is not fixing your bones at all. It has no effect on your bones.
None at all.
No.
Well, maybe not in the bones, but what about the ligaments and the discs?
So let me ask you something. So let's say you hurt something on your body, right? Do you think you pressing on it is going to just fix the issue? That's what chiropractic is doing.
Well, the chiropractics can be used to like a slip disc, put it back in place.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but like, does that mean that putting a shoulder back into its socket is chiropractic?
I think it is, isn't it?
No, because you do that at a hospital with real doctors. Point is that, and don't get me wrong, there are some chiropractors out there who are very honest and they're like, hey, listen, you know, you have to stretch, you have to do stuff that is like real shit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're all like scammers. I'm just saying that there's a lot of them out there though that give a lot of really fucked up information, and they're like, oh well, this is gonna help fix your back. I was like, dude, you pressing on it. Also, too, not to mention too, have you seen all that shit with like the ankle stuff? Someone was like, so they're not even popping your ankle. They put it on a board.
Is that what that loud pop is?
Yeah, it's not your ankle. However, though, the memes and the TikToks about it are hilarious. They are hilarious.
They're fucking hilarious.
But like they put it on a board, and the board is what makes the pop, because when you press down, the support for the board is designed to give way, and then the board, you know, makes a lot of clacking noise. So that's what it is. They're not doing really anything to your ankle.
That's actually kind of interesting, because I mean I had a feeling like there's no way that person is literally popping the ankle like that.
No,
you would fuck that ankle up if you did that.
And the issue is because the human body is a lot more sturdy than we think it is, and so like you pressing on it is not going to magically fix a spine. You know what I mean? That guy probably also went through a lot of physical therapy that you were talking about.
Well, it wasn't just the chiropractic. It was like the guy was like, his specialty was spinal stuff.
Right.
So like it was a combination between that and chiropractics, and all in all, it straightened him up.
Because a lot of people, when they have like back issues, if there's something wrong like a compressed disc, they really can't fix that. Your those two vertebrae will just fuse together over time, and then the pain will go away.
Well, unless you have arthritis like me, and then it never goes away. So
Well, that's because you jumped out of airplanes.
Yeah, I know.
And that's your fault.
I know. All right, so we're going to talk about our topics now.
For once,
because we're over an hour in and we haven't. So we're going to talk about Battlefield. So
Yay.
EA admits Battlefield 2042 failed to meet expectations, and it's because of Halo and COVID.
Of course, has nothing to do with the company.
So EA said that in a report about internal discussion regarding Battlefield 2041. What? 2042. Damn, IGN. Typo, right? Which apparently cited Halo Infinite and COVID as contributing reasons for the game's failings, did not correctly reflect the tone of the meeting. So in a statement to PC Gamer, EA's communications VP John Reisberg said, these stories are not accurately capturing the discussion in the context, which was an in-depth and very humble internal conversation about the recent Battlefield launch. It was about key learnings and actions we were taking, not blaming external factors. So why did you bring up COVID and Halo then? I
mean, I can understand why COVID. So how about this? Legitimately speaking, those totally could have been factors. I'm not lying.
Here's what they said. In the meeting, they blamed the failure of the game on factors such as Halo Infinite's launch and the ongoing COVID pandemic.
So let me ask them. The only reason why I say that is because if it is false and they aren't directly saying it like that, then I could understand why they're like, hey, what the fuck, guys? You know what I mean? But at the same time, too, though, if that's the reason why they think it did poorly, that's a problem. But to say that, like, the pandemic didn't affect it at all, to say...
I can understand the pandemic, and I guess I can understand the launch, but at the same time, a franchise... Like, Halo is a big name.
Yeah.
Battlefield also is a big name.
True, and I agree. And so it's not like a mid-sized developer who's like, hey, we're trying to get this franchise on its feet here. A brand new product, and Halo would get in the way of that. Totally, I agree with that. But you're right though, like, because people weren't anticipating the new Battlefield game, like
here's the thing: Battlefield fans are true to the name. Like,
true,
they are diehard like Battlefield fans.
I don't look at Eldridge.
Like, I know he defended that game until he couldn't anymore.
Oh, 100%.
And I knew it would eventually get to that point.
I lost faith in Battlefield 2042 as soon as one of the first patches came in.
And it didn't do shit.
And it made it worse. It literally made it. So he said that they fixed it. I haven't played it since then, and so I don't care. But like,
Well, the other thing that's hurting is the new content's not rolling out till fucking March.
Good Lord.
Like their first, and I think season 1 for Battlefield was delayed till May. So
Lord.
So you like the first real group of string of content is coming out in the summer. So it's like, yo, like you're not saving shit from that point.
Yeah, no, you're not. But like, as soon as they didn't fix the SMGs right away, because that should have been day one. Fuck, we fucked that up. We got to fix that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you decrease the amount of damage that people do to vehicles with that 50 cal sniper, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Here's an interesting thing that I just saw with this, with the factors that they're bringing in of why 2042 wasn't good. So they said that one of the factors was apparently the Frostbite engine, which I've actually heard this on multiple games that EA has pushed out. And that was actually what, and I said that after Anthem was finally killed off that we wouldn't talk about this anymore. But Anthem failed because of the Frostbite engine. That was one of the reasons why they couldn't get Anthem to perform the way that they were promising, was because they were forced to use the Frostbite engine. EA put it out, and they changed after Anthem's failure on this statement. But EA said that all games going forward are going to be using the Frostbite engine, which it was one of the developers at Anthem compared the Frostbite engine to compared game engines to sports cars. So it was like, imagine trying to use use a Formula One, like the Frostbite engine is a Formula One racer. And they were trying to make all the components of a Formula One racer work in a Mustang. It's just not, or like a fucking Volkswagen Beetle. It's not going to work. And they said that the Frostbite engine, what it does well. But the thing is, the Frostbite engine apparently is kind of like the Unreal Engine, where the tools that are used for development are extremely hard, are extremely not confusing, but extremely
specific.
They're difficult to use.
Okay. And
the Frostbite engine they said that is mainly geared towards first-person shooters. Like you wouldn't use it graphically, sure, it looks good, but the tools used to make the game work, to make all the coding work the way it should, it works best in first-person shooters. Well, they also said that the reason why that the Frostbite engine had to go under a massive update. So the update reportedly sucked up 18 months of development time. All new tech was basically a new engine, which, yeah, I mean, I can understand.
Yeah, and I can understand that would.
So they went back. The Frostbite version that they were on was so old they had to go back and update. So it was basically putting the game in a new engine. So they were, with very little time, using a new engine.
Once again, as I said,
delay
the game. Because unfortunately now, and this is exactly what I was talking about, let's say 2 years from now they really beef up 2042 to make it a awesome as they promised game, right? Fuck them. It's too late. You know what I mean? Like, what? Seriously, if you just delayed it by a year, sure, people would moan and groan. But when you release it, just be like, hey, listen, this is what happened. You know, if they just told people like, hey, this is kind of outside of us building the game, right?
And that goes back to what I said.
That would be a legitimate excuse if you were to tell people after you release, after the delay, hey, sorry for the delay. This is what happened. External factors that had nothing to do with us that we just can't control. People would be like, fuck, okay, but you released a good product. But now, Battlefield 2042...
Communication is key for this kind of shit.
It's even worse off than Battlefield 5 was. And Battlefield 5 was hot garbage.
Oh, I know.
On a stick.
If EA or DICE or whoever, it's definitely EA that's in charge of, this kind of stuff. Right. And I'm willing to bet that EA made the decision to not delay it, and, because they're like, we're competing in a hot market right now and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. If they could have communication, if the gamers are as equally understanding as they are volatile.
Oh, definitely.
And the reason why I say that is because, people that are passionate about like a certain game, like for example, the Battlefield community, if you were to just be honest and say, we have to delay Battlefield because the Frostbite engine needed to be updated, and it took 18 months for that update to finally be finished. And we're basically making the game off of a whole new engine. We have to start at a certain point, and it's going to set us back significantly. If you can give the gamers that kind of explanation, they'll be more understanding and forgiving of a delay. Yes, will it suck? 100%, because we are selfish like that, and I can admit that.
But it's like, look at the fans of like the Elder Scrolls series. You know what I mean? Like,
they fans of that have been waiting for a next Elder Scrolls game for a decade.
Yeah, and even if you were to ask them right now, including myself, what if it got delayed? Okay, then it gets delayed. You know, but here's the thing: I want the game to be good. You know, and that's all they care about.
Free of the typical Bethesda. We want the Bethesda to do it right.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of the Bethesda bugs are still so awesome.
They are like some of the Bethesda glitches are funny because you know,
hilarious. Because a lot of times Bethesda glitches aren't game breaking. They're just
unless they're Fallout 76 ones.
Well, that was a totally different ballpark. That's not like, hey, we poured a lot of love and soul into this game.
We did the bare minimum and tried to roll out with that.
Yeah, 100%. But like, it's like seeing like an NPC who's not relevant to the story, who's not relevant to side quests or something important, just like come from the sky and hover into the ground and disappear forever. Like, that's hilarious. Like, I can't pretend that wasn't funny when I saw that. You know what I mean?
Bethesda glitches are so funny, especially in Skyrim, because then you have like the is someone there? Like the very typical tagline from NPCs. I saw a video where a guy like caused two NPCs to fight each other and argue and then like get into combat with each other. And it started off, they were arguing, and then like when the combat sequence started, one of them like, is someone there? And it's the other funny thing about Skyrim is if you notice this and you pay attention, it doesn't really take much to notice this. A lot of the voice actors are the same guy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, they're the same. There's like 15 people doing voice acting for like hundreds and hundreds of NPCs.
And so if you get a big fight going on, I remember I was using like master rank illusion spells, so it was like getting everyone to fight, and like 10 of the guys in the fight are the same dude talking.
Yeah, it's 10 voice actors of the same guy. It's the same dude speaking
for like 10 people
for different. Yeah, and it's just like it was so funny. But yes, we welcome a delay more than we welcome a broken piece of shit.
Oh, 100%. And unfortunately for EA here, Battlefield 2042, 100%. I'm not saying they should do this. However, I'm saying that for their workers' sanity, they probably should do this. I would just scrap the whole thing. I'm not saying shut down the servers, like just, let people play if they want to fucking play it. I wouldn't put any more content out for it. I wouldn't waste any more money on it. I would just be like, cool, on to the next one, because it is so fucked up, and your launch is already fucked up, especially for a game like this. This isn't even like No Man's Sky, where sure, I personally am going to be like, well, fuck that game because they didn't do it right. I'm at the point where, 2042 is an online multiplayer game. That's all the content there is for it. You know what I mean?
There's not much there for it.
The content is only going to be playing on there with other people. And now that you fucked up the launch and that you showed that you're totally inept when trying to update it and patch it, now no one's going to care. And so no one's going to play it. So now it doesn't matter if you make the end product a beautiful golden masterpiece. You know what I mean? Now it's like, it's still dead.
First impressions are lasting impressions, especially in gaming.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, even if they came out with it and let's say that it wasn't the best, right? And then they fix, the couple of the big things, and then they started pushing content with, patches to fix whatever bugs or whatever issues are coming up or balancing, that's fine, because I would have been like, cool. You know what I mean? Imagine if the very first Battlefield 2042 update was an SMG fix, a sniper fix, and a vehicle health, like the dominance of the vehicles.
Just those three things alone. Made the game feel a lot better.
What would have made people stay on the game? It would have made me stay on the game. You know what I mean? But no, they didn't do that. They fucked it up further, and they just.
Well, that horse is dead, so let's stop beating it. But we are going to beat up Nintendo today.
No.
Hopefully not get sued in the process. But so Nintendo announced that they're shutting down the 3DS and Wii U eShop stores in March 2023, which we kind of touched on.
Yeah.
So, and starting in May, you will no longer be able to add funds via credit card to a 3DS and Wii U eShop account. On August 29th, it will also no longer be possible to use prepaid eShop cards to add funds as well. So they're slowly rolling this out to where you can't buy anything after August.
I kind of understand.
Well, you can if you put the money in, but if after that, like, you can't put more money in and you can't buy it.
I kind of understand for the Wii U, like, because that console was pretty.
I mean, no, it's like we've moved on.
Yeah.
But there are still people that play this shit, and especially Nintendo games. Nintendo's an anomaly when it comes to like classic games.
Oh, well, it's because they have their own style and own version of making a game that is entirely, admittedly, is their own creation. They came up with it, they made it, they popularized it, and they patented it. So no one's going to be able to encroach on their territory, so they can do what they want. And granted, I know that like Eldridge is a little bit more hostile towards them. I'm kind of okay with Nintendo. I can definitely respect that they have, for better or worse, stuck to what they know how to do. And
but their business practice with some of this is just very, it's like,
well, there were
it's
some
very
things,
anti-consumer.
Well, there were some things that were very fucking weird. It's like the idea of like people talking about their games or having any kind of music about their games on like YouTube. I thought was weird. There's been a lot of Japanese companies doing shit like this, like Funimation,
with the YouTuber.
Toho Animation. Yeah,
which, by the way, that guy won his appeals.
Fuck yeah. Like, that's awesome, but like it's just the idea that like I don't understand. Sure, I understand in terms of like if other companies are trying to use your shit, yeah, fuck them. Like, gotcha, cool beans. But like when you have a YouTuber who gets on and talks nothing but praise about your product and about your company, about what you do, and they have nothing but love for your product, why are you gonna antagonize them?
It's
like,
weird.
I
it
don't
doesn't
understand
make sense
it.
to me.
And some of the stuff for Nintendo, I think now especially, Nintendo is in a pretty safe zone in terms of game publishing and game creation, in terms of they have their stuff and you can only get their stuff from them, and that's fine, right? To be fair, a lot of companies, like, we rag on people like Ubisoft, but Ubisoft games, no one likes them anymore. So
no, nobody likes Ubisoft anymore, not even the Ubisoft employees, which was the topic I was going to talk about, but I didn't want to keep beating on old topics because the employees are revolting against Ubisoft over the NFT shit. So
good. That's good to hear.
And that's all you need to know about that.
but in general, though, it's just like Nintendo's in a very safe spot, but they're also in a very precarious spot because Nintendo is the monopoly juggernaut of a finite resource.
Right.
And what I mean by that is Mario games, Kirby games, general Nintendo shit, Legend of Zelda, Smash Brothers, Mario Party, anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. The issue is that it's like people, it's like, I remember Zero Punctuation kind of covered this a little bit. There was a guy, Yahtzee, who does like a bunch of game reviews, and he was talking about it. And what are you looking for?
I had a hair in my mouth.
You have a trash can, don't you?
Yeah, I don't. No,
it's back.
It's full.
It's behind Tim.
Yeah, it's behind Tim. What's up, Tim?
But anyway, so like the issue is that he talked about like Super Mario Galaxy a long time ago when it came out, right? He's like, no, it's a good game. He's like, it's awesome. You know, it is. And then they came out with Super Mario Galaxy 2, and he's like, hey, you know, we're kind of reaching the end of the idea trough, right? Because now the issue is, well, we did, you know, the original Super Mario stuff. That's fine, right? No problem. The pipes and then the fucking worlds and then cool. And then we moved on to like Super Mario 64. Again, no problem, right? You know, brand new age. Cool. Let's go for it. And then, you know, we had things like Mario Party, Super Smash Brothers, which were all really awesome games. Still even are today, right? But how many Mario Karts can you come out with?
Before it becomes annoying.
How many Mario Worlds can you come out with? How many Mario Parties can you come out with?
You can only do so much with that name, with that brand, you know?
Right, exactly. You know, I mean, it's like, then they did other stuff too, like Luigi's Mansion, which is awesome. And then again, how many Luigi's Mansions are we going to come out with?
And I think I know where you're getting at with this.
You know what I
mean? When you have like independent people like come up with their own idea with that brand.
They made Super Mario Maker, for God's sakes. They're running out of ideas, so now it's coming to the point where they can't be as frugal or nice to the consumer. Now they kind of have to, they're going into survival mode because Nintendo will never be overtaken. But it's even like Pokemon. It's like, Pokemon is really cool. I'm not going to lie. 100%. Did I buy...
so cool that you often choose not to go after a perpetrator,
What?
It's that's so cool that you choose to play Pokemon instead of
true.
chasing,
Yeah.
chasing a perpetrator.
Yes. Hey, man, it's a fucking Snorlax. But and like that stuff is cool and that's really good. That's awesome. But like the issue then you run into is, again, how many Pokemon games are we going to come out with before it dies? My guess is they probably got two more in them.
Maybe more than that. It's hard to say. Pokemon is one of those things that's been around for so fucking long. Same with anything in Nintendo.
Well, the issue is that every new Nintendo game is selling worse than the last in terms of popularity, in terms of quality, everything.
That's true.
I think the only thing that got better was the latest Smash Brothers, and again, they're kind of like running out of ideas to do now.
Oh, they only have their final expansion is coming up. No, they're not doing any more after that.
Mm. It's like
the last what do they call the characters? They call them what, heroes or whatever the fuck?
I don't think they call them heroes, but
call them something. But like the character that they introduced that's being added to Smash Brothers, there's only one more left, and I forgot who it is. But
point is that they're reaching a point where, sure, they're very safe in the fact that you're right, 100%. I'm going to make money off Mario because if you want a Mario game, you come to me for it, and that's it. But the issue is that we're now that you've gone to fucking space, where are you going to take Mario?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of all of this stuff and creating a finite, whatever. So they said, however, users still can redeem download codes until March 2023. Additionally, after the eShop shuts down, users will still be able to re-download content they already own and download existing software updates. But you can't get it.
You can't buy more shit.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you can re-download stuff. Like, it's not like, oh, well, if you don't have it on your console, get bent.
This is weird. To commemorate the history of Nintendo DS, 3DS, and Wii U, Nintendo has launched a website for users to reminisce on their memories with them. Both systems have been known for providing homes for Nintendo legacy content like the Wii U Virtual Console. So Nintendo initially confirmed that it will only be releasing classic content through Nintendo Switch Online membership, which apparently sucks. Basically, you have to pay like a premium price to get like classic Nintendo games, but apparently they are not optimized well for the Switch.
I don't know.
So, Nintendo currently has no other plans to distribute legacy content in other ways. However, Nintendo deleted this answer shortly after it went live. Nintendo currently has no announced plans to distribute legacy content in other ways. So, you have to subscribe to their legacy content, which is like basically getting a PlayStation Plus membership, but for Nintendo. And we talked about this a little bit. I don't know if you remember it. But they basically, it's like a subscription that's similar to Game Pass, but it's only like Nintendo games. And the more money you pay, the more content you get. Here, let's actually dive into this.
Well, I talked about it a little bit, that they had like some legacy games from fucking like different eras and stuff, and that's fine. Like, but a lot of the ones that you were definitely looking for weren't in there.
So the classic game library reaches 100 plus games for Nintendo. Let's see. No, this is in May of 2021. When the fuck did we talk about this? Shit. There was like, what was there? Let's see. It was like a Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. That's what it was. So people were actually pretty pissed off about this because they were like basically paywalling all of the, all of the legacy content behind this expansion pack.
Yeah.
And it was not that people weren't happy about this because the pricing was pretty nuts. Fuck, I'm having a hard time finding it, but just for time's sake, we're just gonna leave it at that. People weren't happy about it. It kind of sucks because it was like if you want to play all the old classic shit, you're gonna have to pay like, I forgot, I think it was like $70 for a family plan or some shit like that. And it was just, it sucked because it was like, and the worst part about it was that the games that came out weren't optimized well for the Switch. So like you played Mario 64 on this thing, and it was, you didn't own the games. The games would often just rotate out too. So they would just be there for like a month, and then the next month you get something else. So that was people weren't really happy about that at all. So let's talk about the Cyberpunk 2077 next gen update. So Eurogamer actually covered a little bit on this. Let's load into this and talk about it. So the next gen patch changes nothing that matters, according to these guys. So writing anything good about Cyberpunk 2077 feels like a little defending the indefensible. So it did launch with its next gen, and it was a disaster when it did launch because current gen at the time was not. You couldn't play it on fucking PS4 and Xbox One. It was unplayable.
Really unplayable.
So the purpose of the whole update was a quality of life, which, you know, like this person even says is a term I've come to loathe, which some people are like, man, why? There's no content here. It's quality of life. Me, I played it once and I put it down because I was waiting for this update. Because I'm like, I'll play it again in a different way, even though I know that like my path won't change. But I was going to give myself enough time away from the game to play the next gen update to appreciate it.
Right.
I didn't want to spend too much time in the game. So Cyberpunk 2077 players have a terrible quality of life and much more furor. What does that mean? Aside from its occasional thoughtful observations about its tone, has been about that. Some of it's reasonable. Why don't crowds react to you properly? Why are some perks a bit useless, which was true? Why does this motorcycle turn like a bus? And some less. Why can't I have auto walk button? Why don't cars have realistic driving patterns? And when I look through them with the telescope at 2 miles away. So the patch is an attempt at getting to all of that. There are more realistic crowd behaviors, although honestly, only kind of. I mean, this is this person's opinion. I've seen the footage of it. It does look way better than it used to.
Okay.
Because like the NPCs, whenever they would walk, and I've seen this, they would walk in a linear pattern back and forth to like simulate crowd movement.
Like more people, yeah.
And they would walk in the same fashion. And they would just walk back and forth, and like as if they were like they promised like this game, like NPCs all have a random pattern with them, and none of them did. So I'm actually going to be playing this next gen update soon, just to see for myself like exactly how well the quality of life changes are.
Right.
So I mean, this person's just giving their fucking opinion. Honestly, this is just an opinion piece. I don't care. I want to know just the details. So they overhauled the map, I guess. Oh, and they cut the price down by 50%.
Please save this game.
So extreme. Here's a media page that we haven't actually ever looked at. So they said that many have pointed out the incredible work CDPR did on the Witcher games that evidenced Cyberpunk would be a success. Which there was even a developer that was with CD Projekt Red that said that when they made Cyberpunk, this whole relying on the success of a previous title, it's like, well, we made it work with this, we can make it work with this, was such a bullshit statement because, and he even said it just like that, is a bullshit statement because that was kind of luck that, you know, the magic of CDPR worked well for The Witcher. It'll work well from going forward, but no, it's not going to. And this game's an example of that. So let's see. So the new patch, which is the big patch,
yeah, right,
includes a ton of fixes for bugs and shortcomings, as well as new performance modes for next-gen consoles. The game will include a performance mode for Xbox One X and PS5 that runs 4K and 60 FPS. Alternatively, you can enable ray tracing mode for more realistic lighting, but this mode only runs at 1440p and 30 FPS, which some people were saying this mode looks better in ways.
Well, I can understand that too, because what was it for? For the more realistic lighting?
Yeah.
Do you see how much glowing shit is in Cyberpunk?
Yes.
Like 4K may not.
It may not translate well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially if lighting is gonna be such a big deal, that'd be like saying like, hey, we're gonna make something like Outlast.
So this is what they said.
4K, but like that is a game that is very heavy on lighting and the importance of how well the lighting is translated into the world. So I could see why something like Cyberpunk or even something like, Outlast, which admittedly Outlast is an old game, but I could understand why a mode like that would look a lot better.
So they even said even at a lower frame rate, ray tracing mode looks fantastic. That's one of Cyberpunk 2077's strengths. The game world looks vibrant and alive. Sadly, that's just a glamorous facade on a game that's still surprisingly shallow. Essentially, what they're going to get into is the fact that there really isn't much content. There's none that was added. CDPR added a surprising number of basic features in a hefty 50 gigabyte 1.5 patch. The sort of things that should be there at launch. For example, you can finally change your character's hairstyle, and doing things like showering and sleeping actually give you gameplay buffs. Night City real estate has opened up as well, giving V more options for apartments and upgrades. So the devs didn't completely ignore the underlying issues in Night City. The combat AI is smarter, allowing enemies to seek effective cover rather than leaving themselves hilariously exposed, and drivers will finally try to get away if you start shooting at them in traffic. You definitely won't see any major DLC content in this patch, which is unfortunate given the amazing job CDPR did with The Witcher 3. It's uncertain at this point when or even if Cyberpunk will see new storylines. They spent the last year just trying to make the game playable. On one hand, I can appreciate this. On the other hand, it's like, for a gamer, like, yeah, we all want more content.
Right.
This is why I recommended people that if you were playing it, wait. Just wait. Like, if you were starting to play it, I even said if you started playing it, just stop. Even though I said, one of the things that I did say, Cyberpunk is one of the most addicting, shitty games I've ever played. Because I got very stuck into, like, the narrative was actually surprisingly decent. Even though in parts it wasn't great. But I will say that, like, the story is really the only thing that kept me going. But the one thing that kind of stopped me from, playing it even more was the fact that there wasn't very much to do, like the side quests where you get to a certain point where your side quests are just buying cars.
I mean,
and then you have to finish the story.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I get you. It's just,
so the game wasn't horrible. I mean, then again, I was also playing on a PS5.
This one's in a very different state, though, because this is a single-player game.
Right.
So I still do not condone the practice of this, so I'm not taking it back for this. I'm not buying it. But overall, though, they could save this game. Whereas, like, 2042, you're not saving that because
there's no salvage there.
No salvage.
But you know where there is salvage, maybe? Skull and Bones.
Are you sure it's a Ubisoft game?
Dude, that's the biggest thing that has me thinking that this game's gonna suck. Is that Ubisoft is handling it, and everyone thought maybe this game was just DOA, like dead in the water, like pun intended. So they said that it still exists, and development on the Long Adrift pirate simulation is going well, quote unquote, which I have heard otherwise, and it should release this fiscal year. So you remember Skull and Bones, which you probably don't. Ubisoft's beleaguered pirate adventure might be seemingly been adrift since 2017, but the publishers now reckons it definitely reached port sometime in the next fiscal year. For real this time. For real, because they've said this multiple times in the last few years.
Jesus. So
the claim during the last night's quarterly earnings call, which generally weren't looking fantastic for the French publisher, sales were down 31% year over year, with Far Cry 6 and Riders Republic unable to match the bar set by Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion last year, which this one is not that great, but it's not nearly as bad as this one. Watch Dogs was a dumpster fire. Ubisoft is bullish about its next quarter, which will include recently released Rainbow Six Extraction, which everyone's already over it, Valhalla's Ragnarok expansion, which no one understands because we're kind of diving away from the historical reasons that Assassin's Creed exists and just diving straight into like legitimate mythology.
I mean, honest to God, like, I wouldn't mind if they did, because the Assassin's Creed part of Assassin's Creed always sucked.
Well,
that the fact of the real world.
If you really want to dive into Norse mythology, there's kind of already a game out like that. It's called God of War.
True, but
it dives into that mythology way better than I think Ubisoft ever could.
Well, I mean, it depends, because God of War did a lot of things with Norse mythology that were kind of bullshit. I understand that they're changing it on purpose, so I don't hate it. But if you want to go into like more legitimate mythology and really follow it, Assassin's Creed does have a good like opening for that. But God of War is a little different, because sure, while they follow the main basic components of it, there's so many changes. And again, it's not bad. I'm not criticizing it, because it's a different story. They're taking their take on Norse mythology. That's fine. Just like how in Greek mythology, Zeus doesn't die.
They're basically
right?
translating the fall of the Norse gods because it was actually because of Kratos.
Yeah,
not because of
which is still weird though, because technically speaking, in Norse mythology, Magni and Modi, who we both killed,
they survive Ragnarok.
They survive Ragnarok.
They're actually they're actually two of like several that survive Ragnarok.
There's not a ton of gods that survive.
There's about 6,
but
it's like Balder survives Ragnarok.
He
survives because he lives amongst Midgard and then dies.
He technically does not survive Ragnarok, because he's the reason why it started. Well, his death is the reason why it started, but he technically gets brought back. So that's why it's kind of like he does, but he doesn't.
And then like you said, Magni and Modi survive.
Yeah, and they outright survive, and they were actually noted as two of the gods that were trying to help humanity after the fall. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's kind of odd that like, we just killed them. And you're like,
and they were dickheads.
Yeah, and they were assholes. Like, fuck. And I understand that like what they're trying to do here is kind of what they did in God of War, the original God of Wars. Shit. To where like Odin's fear and hate kind of has poisoned everybody.
You mean Zeus?
Well, it was Zeus prior, but there was also a bit more of a Pandora's Box reference there, that when
there was an entire game about Pandora's Box.
Well, what I meant by that was not just that, sure, Zeus was a dickhead, and he was a dickhead in normal mythology too, but Zeus really fell off when Pandora's Box was opened, because all of those evils were released back into the world. And that affected Zeus and made everyone a dickhead and made everyone super fearful and irrational and doing dumb shit.
Have you played the original God of War games?
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's why.
I thought you were talking about like Greek mythology.
No, that was an explanation as to why in God of War why all this stuff happened, right? Because people like Hades. Granted, again, I know that it's their own take on mythology here, but like Hades wasn't a dickhead in Greek mythology.
No, he wasn't. He was
actually probably one of the only like legitimate down to earth people.
And the worst, he only was kind of the way he was because it was weird, because like in Greek mythology, Hades is just a damaged soul, essentially.
But he was still
stricken
fair.
By grief.
But he was fair to everybody. Like there are almost no. Actually, there are no stories of him screwing over mortals, screwing over other people. There was the whole thing about Persephone being kidnapped by Hades, and no one knows how he did it, but I think it's just that she didn't want to be around her mother anymore, because Demeter's kind of a spiteful bitch. Hey, I'm going to fuck everyone over because I don't get to see my daughter for like 4 months. And it's like, really? So... But like Hades wasn't a dick to anybody. Poseidon was kind of an asshole, but not like that big of an, he wasn't that big of an asshole.
Right.
And so they explained the differences in behavior via Pandora's Box. And that made sense. In Norse mythology with Kratos and Atreus, I don't know why. like Odin was just kind of an asshole. You know,
you ever think that maybe Odin became the way he was because Kratos ended up there?
I don't know.
He was a god from another culture.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just fell upon a culture he doesn't actually belong in, and it's kind of set things in a weird way.
So so I do believe that could be it. Like the aggression definitely could be like, hey, so how about this? Mimir noted, hey, you're the ghost of Sparta. Holy shit! Like they knew about him, right?
Oh, him being there, their automatic assumption is they're here. He's here for us.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not gonna lie. Sure, admittedly, Kratos has kind of turned over a new leaf.
But they don't know that.
Exactly, they don't know that. They know or have had word or rumors or whatever that the ghost of Sparta, who destroyed the entirety of the Greek pantheon, with the exception of Aphrodite, which I don't know what the fuck she's doing anymore. She's just there.
Yeah, I thought of that too. I'm like, what happens to Aphrodite? Like, where did she go?
She's just there.
And then you don't kill her. She just kind of goes away, and
Yeah.
then you never hear from her again. And then just like, okay, all of Olympus has fallen, and
Yep.
there is a god roaming around. So
She's technically a Titan, but
technically yes.
But yeah, she's there, and that's it. That is all. Like that's just her. And so
Don't they actually? So here's one thing that I wish God of War, the new one, explained. Because at the end, there's a post-credit scene of God of War 3 when Kratos stabs himself, like at the end, and then the credits roll. At the end of the credits, the very long credit scene, post-credits, goes back to the rock where he stabbed himself and sees he's not there, and there's a trail of blood leading to the ocean, or leading to the sea. So that leaves speculation to believe that Kratos is still alive. But then you start off God of War, the new one. He's in he's in Midgard. Why? How did he get there? And they didn't explain it in the game. In fact, they did explain it in like this extra content, which was in the form of like a digital comic book.
Okay.
Which I didn't actually read into it because I don't know. And the chick that found him, I can't remember her name, who ends up being a giant, Atreus' mother.
His wife, yeah, his wife.
His wife found him apparently and shielded him, because I think she knew that if the gods knew that he was there, they would freak out. And I think it's explained in the game the reason why the god, like Kratos' presence, because when the mother died and they chopped down the tree, the shield that was protecting them from being seen by the gods was gone.
Yep.
And it caused a huge stir, like, oh shit, the ghost of Sparta is here now.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
And that's why Baldur went to go see for himself. Is this true? Is he here? And it's causing everything to act funny. Everything's acting weird.
Now, granted, though, that is a good explanation as to why, like, the gods are like, send people after him. Like, what the fuck's happening? What's going on? The immediate aggression to a completely neutral third party.
Which they don't know is neutral.
Of course, but still.
I just want to be left alone, boy.
Yeah. Now, the weird thing, though, is that Mimir, throughout the game, though, has shown that Zeus has had this mental decline the entire time. Back when he was at war with the Vanir and the Aesir, when he got...
Are you talking about Odin?
Yeah, Odin.
You said Zeus.
Oh, fuck, whatever. When Odin, the war between the Vanir and the Aesir, and Odin learning the magic from Freya and his marriage to her, it showed that he was malicious and was outright hostile the entire time. He always had a mental decline. Now, granted, some of that is him trying to prevent Ragnarok.
His obsession of trying to prevent it, you mean?
Yeah. And so they don't really break it down. Like, now, I would have understood if there was kind of a divide. Like, maybe someone, like, it's like 100% like in the mythology, Thor isn't outwardly hostile to anyone except for the frost giants, right?
Well, Thor's always been noted to be like a drunkard kind of
True, but he's also noted as the protector of humanity.
Yes.
So that's kind of odd that, you know, he's just cool with Big Daddy Odin saying, all right, go fucking kill him. You know what I mean? Now, granted, he doesn't know, you know, like, obviously he doesn't think of Kratos as a human, which is fair.
Because he's not.
Right, which is fair. But it's just the idea, though, that, like...
And he killed his sons.
All three of them.
All of them. 3.
Baldur's all... Well,
I don't know if Baldur's Thor's son in this.
Well, excuse me. So... I fucked that up. Odin is technically in the mythology. That was my mistake. Odin is the father of all of them. So his brother and his 2 sons.
Which is why they call him the Allfather.
Right. Well, actually, that's not why they call him the Allfather.
No, I know that's not why they call him that.
But so in general, though, like, I can understand why the whole thing about Ragnarok means why Odin is kind of being an asshole. But, like, it's just kind of odd that, like, they are hostile to everybody about everything for no matter what. You know what I mean?
But it's still also not explained if that's how they've always been.
It was, though.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Because Mimir talks about it. He's like, yeah, you know, Odin was nice for a time to Freya and then fucked her over. And then, you know...
Did you hear the theory that the world serpent is actually Kratos?
Really?
Yes. And then there's even like a whole thing where someone, you know, when they first find Jormungandr, that he, you know how like he has that really loud fucking, he says something in another language, but apparently someone said if you listen really closely, you hear him say, "I know you, Ghost of Sparta." And I actually heard it too when I said that. I said, "Listen," he says, "I know you, Ghost of Sparta," or some shit like that. And so there's this theory because Atreus, if you look at the end when he pulls that curtain aside, when he sees that, you know, Kratos dies and a serpent comes out of Kratos. Now, if you look at mythology, Jormungandr is the son of Loki. Loki is the father of Jormungandr.
Right.
So basically, this could
Which
be
means
their
that Loki's got to get on with a horse and he's got to make hell.
He's got a weird. He's gonna have to do some. They've already been in hell.
No, hell is the goddess.
Oh, the goddess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, hell's the goddess.
The in the game, if you notice, like in that, like before the Yakuza credits at the end, when he like pulls that drape aside and he sees that it is foreseen that Kratos falls. And Atreus saves him by and he basically Atreus is over him, and a snake is coming out of him. So there's this theory that Jormungandr is actually Kratos, and the birthing of Jormungandr from Loki, who was Atreus, is Atreus saving Kratos.
So there's a lot of things that they could go off of that if that's the case, because then that explains why there would be the post-credit sequence of Thor approaching the house.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie, if it comes to, like, Norse gods that could take Kratos, Thor is probably one of 2.
Who's the other?
Maybe Odin.
Maybe.
Because Odin's also supposed to be fucking retarded powerful.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the only one that I legitimately think could go toe-to-toe with Kratos would be Thor. Like, Baldur... Which was kind of odd that they chose Baldur to be like that kind of like emissary in the first game, because in mythology Baldur is the god of light and beauty, and
that fight scene, by the way,
and is wimpy, and then his mom makes everything swear not to hurt him. So that's weird. I do like that they did play off of that, but it's just kind of weird that he's so powerful. I would have liked if he was less powerful but was annoying in the fact that yes, you just couldn't kill him, you know.
But that was because
and it was
of
more
curse.
It was more harassment of the party rather than Baldur might outright kill you, you know what I mean.
That fight scene was pretty crazy. I liked that opening fight scene with Baldur because it was like it highlighted the power between them both.
I also, don't get me wrong, I like the fact that Kratos is a little bit slower now instead of just fucking hopping around, because if we had God of War 3 Kratos' feats going up here...
Well, he not only is he, like, still, like, he's old, and he's like he hasn't been using his abilities as a god.
It also makes me wonder though too, like why can he not turn his abilities back on? Because clearly it does happen to a degree. You know what I mean?
Because Kratos' power is fueled by his rage.
So do you think that we're gonna have
the whole thing of why he became the god of war was because he was rageful over he was just a commander. He was a commander of the Spartan army.
Yeah, 100%.
To the point where Ares tricked him into killing his own family. And then he became vengeful.
Tricked him. They sent him to a village and then plopped his family in there.
Essentially, yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Well, that's tricking him.
But I mean, yes, it is. But also too, like he burst into a house and murdered people, and you didn't think to look at them.
Right. He's kind of that highlights him as a character. He was always blinded and fueled by his rage.
So it's just kind of odd though, that,
and lust for his power.
True, but like it's just weird though that like in the new God of War that like. They're like, oh, Kratos is powerful. No, he's just as powerful as he was before, if not like a little stronger.
He's holding back.
I feel that a lot.
He's holding back on purpose. He doesn't want to fall off that. He turned a new leaf. He doesn't want to be that person.
Yeah, but then
anymore.
You get into that Batman moment, and it's just so weird to to be like, I'm going to hold back this entire time.
Well, I understand it because it's like every time that he has been on a path because of his rage and the way and like letting his rage overcome him, and that's why he was trying to teach Atreus
restraint, and I totally get that, and that's awesome. There were some awesome moments in God of War about that, but it's just odd though that like especially when you're getting your shit kicked in,
he turns it on when it's like it needs to be.
Yeah, but he turns it on so softly. The fact of the matter is though, Kratos should have been able to walk up to Baldur, tear him into many pieces, literally pulling off pieces of him, throwing them in different directions, and then setting him down with no arms and no legs, and then walk off and wait for him to regenerate and come back. You know what I mean? But no, we don't get that. I mean, we had a dude who literally killed Kronos. You know what I mean? Is struggling with the god of light and beauty.
Well, Cory Barlog actually explained this. The reason why they went this way with it was because they wanted to highlight the fact that Kratos was trying to not be that. True. So they didn't want him to, they wanted to tell it, they wanted to show Kratos in a completely different light than what we're used to seeing, because otherwise it would just be the same game over and over again.
No, and I do understand that there's a difference in mechanics, which also gives it a different feel, and that's nice and that's awesome. But it sucks though that
I think we'll get that in this.
I'm hoping that you actually play as Atreus in this one. I'm hoping that the opening to it, and I don't think that they're going to do it, but I hope that whole, like what you said, that theory is right. I would love to see Atreus get kidnapped by the gods and wait till he's powerful enough to fuck them up. And that's how he becomes adopted, Thor's adopted brother, right? Because they're like, oh,
I just want to kill Thor and take his hammer and just use it.
See, unfortunately, though, I think if that's the theory that Kratos has to die, and that's how the world serpent is made, I'm thinking and I'm hoping that they do Thor justice in terms of his power, because Baldur they kind of amped up a little bit more, which is fine, whatever. Thor has to be one of the most powerful people that Kratos is going to come up against.
I imagine he is.
You know what I mean?
In all of mythology, Thor is the most powerful god. Because Mjolnir is the most powerful weapon to ever be wielded by a god.
True. But the idea, though, is that the fact that Mjolnir is so powerful, and that's fine, but the issue still remains, though, that Thor is the biggest champion of Norse mythology.
Yeah.
He is the big guy. He is the hero who stands until the last.
But it also gets that got to his head, and if you look at and even in the mythology, it shows that like Thor's, how powerful he is did get to his head, because he's always like, who was it that it was it Loki that tricked him into? There was someone that tricked him into drinking the ocean.
Yes.
Was it Loki?
No.
Who was that?
That was one of the giant kings. What they did was they gave him a horn and said, oh, let's see, how much you can drink. And so he was drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. And the horn was connected. Of course, this is magic and shit, but it was connected to the ocean. He drank and dropped the sea level by like several feet. And they were like, okay, cool, next challenge. And then they're like, hey, yeah, no, pick up our cat. And Thor goes to pick up the cat and is like struggling because the cat is like keeping its hands and feet on the ground. He's like trying to push it up. He ended up like pulling Jormungandr out of the fucking ocean.
What, by picking this cat up?
It wasn't really a cat. It was really Jormungandr. And he like drug Jormungandr like out of the fucking ocean. And then he had to wrestle a handmaiden, a really old handmaiden. And the funny part about this was, though, is that Thor ended up losing to this handmaiden, but Thor almost beat her. Now, that sounds weird, right?
Who was the handmaiden then?
It was death. It was decay. It was time, essentially.
No, he had to wrestle time.
So he was trying to beat time and decay and death. And after that, the giant told him what had happened. They were kind of upset. He said, no, you got a lot, you have a lot of power in you. You guys really are powerful. Now leave and never come back, because now I'm fucking scared. Because Thor almost beat time, which would have made Thor never get old, never be weakened by disease or time or age or decay or die. And the fact that Thor almost overcame that was a big problem for the giants, considering Thor's main job was to kill giants.
Right.
So, and so they left after that. And those were the challenges for that. Now, the issue is that overall, Thor had all this power and is supposed to be the big bad. Say the big bad in this scenario, right? The issue is now that if Kratos fights Thor, is he going to beat Thor? Because if he's supposed to die, this is as good a time as any, right?
Well, they did say that they are continuing God of War, but just not in the Norse mythology.
What do you mean?
They said that God of War Ragnarok is the end of the Norse saga.
Okay.
Implying that there is going to be more.
So, and that's fair, I guess, but the
Kratos versus Christianity. Kratos versus Muhammad the Prophet.
Could you just imagine Jesus Christ throwing fucking nails out of his hand?
Jesus Christ, superstar.
You know what I mean? We got fucking Jesus Christ over here throwing nails at Kratos through his hands.
Well, they did say they are going to explore the God of War universe into other mythologies,
and that's fair.
Which implies, I think that implies that they're going to either go. They could very well go into Egyptian.
They could do Egyptian. They could do Chinese. They could do Far Eastern mythologies. They could do South American mythologies, either Aztec, Mayan, or other, or even Aboriginals. You know what I mean?
It'd be interesting. Different setting. I don't know where they're gonna go with it. Like, you have to fight Anubis. You have to fight fucking Jesus. You got to fucking wrestle Moses in the ocean.
Now, my thing though is that with Ragnarok, because like you said, the snake is supposed to come out of Kratos,
according to that mural,
which is kind of weird. That was a pretty hard hint to be, you know what I mean, to be like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's just gonna stay there. I think Kratos is gonna die.
He could. He very well could. It remains to be seen. We'll find out when the game comes out.
I would love to see him die and then see him finally as Jormungandr take out Thor.
Because that's what happens. They kill each other.
In Ragnarok, they kill each other.
Are you suggesting that Kratos gets killed by Thor, turns into Jormungandr, and then they kill each other?
Yes.
That could very well be.
And that would make a lot of sense. And then you would continue.
Well, it would coincide with the mythology too.
Yeah, and well, because that's such a big part of the mythology, I would find it very hard for them not to have Jormungandr kill Thor, because that is such a central part of the mythology.
Oh, it absolutely is.
That would be so hard for them to be like,
that's like
we're not going to do it this time, guys.
That's like Fenrir being the whole, like the Fenrir, like Odin being afraid of Fenrir.
Yeah, well, Odin's supposed to die to Fenrir.
Right. That's like the same thing. Like it's a pinnacle part of
the mythology. Yeah, it's really hard to.
Which means we're gonna see Fenrir in this.
We would have to. I don't know what else they're gonna do with it.
I imagine Fenrir is gonna be a gigantic fucking wolf.
Well, he has to be. Like literally, he has to be. There's no other way to do Fenrir.
Oh god, I'm excited for this game.
Like there really is no other way to do Fenrir. There's no that's what he is.
Because the story of Ragnarok is such an epic story for mythology.
Oh, definitely. I wonder where Odin's horse is going to come from this time.
Who knows?
You know where it came from in the mythology, right?
No, I don't.
Loki. So the Asgardians needed a wall around Asgard, right? This giant who disguised himself just as a person, right? They said, "Hey, can you build the wall?" He said, "Well, I want to marry Freya." And they were like, "Well, we don't know if we can do that. You know, we're not going to give you one of our beautiful goddesses just for you to build a wall." And they said, "Well, if you can build it in a year, with a massive wall, you know what I mean? That's tough to do." So this dude started doing it, and he was doing it remarkably fast. And it was coming close to him being finished and close to the year being up. And they're like, fuck, he might do it. You know, we can't lose one of our goddesses. Fuck, you know. Well, his horse, because the deal was that he couldn't get help from anybody. So it was just this guy and a horse. And the horse was bringing him stones. Well, Loki shapeshifted into a horse, into a mare. And lured away this man's horse. Was gone for a long time, too.
What you doing, Loki?
And he comes back, and Odin and obviously other gods are like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And
you cheated.
Well, no, not just that. I mean, yes, the guy said that you cheated and kind of like gave them the finger and fucked off, and they finished the wall because it was almost done. But Loki comes back with this horse called Sleipnir. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but whatever. Fuck you. Because I know someone's gonna come and be like, well, actually it's said this way. But anyway, so this fucking like 8-legged horse comes back. Loki gifts it to Odin, says, "Hey, you are allowed to have this horse, but you are not allowed to ask where it came from, and you will not talk about this ever again."
Loki birthed the horse.
Yes, Loki got fucked by by the horse, and birthed this horse. Yes.
So weird.
Yep. And so that's why I was like, I wonder where Odin's horse is going to come from in this.
Because probably not that.
Because the fact that Atreus,
I don't think Atreus is gonna fuck a horse and then shit out a horse.
I mean, I don't know that Atreus has been shown to be a weird, fucked up dude. Like,
if anything, he's showed that he's just powerful and rageful, and his rage is what's made him sick.
Well, see, the thing is that Atreus, he's got some weird shit to be doing. Because it's really weird. Because also too, Loki's kids are a quintessential part of the mythology, so I don't know how they're gonna tie this in. You know what I mean? Hey, where did Jormungandr come from? We might have that covered, right? Hey, where'd Fenrir come from? Another one of his kids. We don't know that. Hey, where's Hel gonna be at? More importantly, where was Hel at when we were in Helheim? You know what I mean? The goddess Hel.
Do you know that me and you have gone off on a tangent and we never finished this article?
That's not up to me, bud.
Damn. We were still talking about Skull and Bones, and I completely forgot we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry, guys. Well, we'll wrap this up real quick on this. Essentially, what's going on, what's been causing it to be delayed was the 8-year development. Skull and Bones was plagued in production emerged following reports of Ubisoft's abusive workplace culture. Describing the game as
had no effect.
Nope. As one beset by constant fundamental reworks of what the game even was. Going from a multiplayer expansion to Assassin's Creed Black Flag to an open sea survival sandbox in a session-based multiplayer deathmatch game. That's right. Skull and Bones was supposed to be like a spin-off of Black Flag.
I mean, that would have made a lot more sense considering that a lot of people were complaining about...
Well, it kind of took a life on its own.
Well, no, and I agree because a lot of people were... they loved Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I hold that was the last good one. But the issue is that Assassin's Creed Black Flag was so good until it had to be an Assassin's Creed game.
Right. Yeah, I know. Which is why they started doing the Skull and Bones thing.
Which makes sense.
So their the managing director Hugh Ricord, he was ousted during a leadership audit. He was the leader in development for Skull and Bones. But even months after his removal, a report showed that the staff at the studio felt that there was a French ceiling that made it hard for staff not hailing from publisher's home nation to progress within the company. So they couldn't.
Yeah, no, we talked about that before too.
Yeah, there was an issue with Skull and Bones like their leadership was affected by this.
Well, we were talking about that with all of Ubisoft though.
Right. That ties into this too, because like the leadership, you know, they were having a hard time finding leadership for certain titles. This one was one of them, which is what led to the delay to be as extensive as it is. And but yeah, the track record that Ubisoft has makes it hard to read too much confidence into Dugat's comment. But hey, maybe he's right. We'll be sailing high seas by the end of the year, whatever form Skull Bones ends up taking. I think it's going to be a dumpster fire. Last topic. We're going to talk about this crazy bitch. So she says, she was fired for saying this, but she says that men under 5'7" don't have human rights.
I'm sorry, that's not body positive?
I know it's not, which is why she was fired.
How about this? I'm just impressed of it that there was any kind of pushback on it.
Why? Because she's talking about guys?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck about men. It sucks.
Well, it's not just like...
Be a man!
Have you seen those goddamn TikToks?
It was like saying like...
Don't ask for help picking up heavy objects. Throw your back out. Be a man. They're so funny, but...
It was a don't ever go to the doctor. Just die. Be a man.
Yep, 100%.
Be a man. There's some where they're just so funny that he can't keep it together.
He can't keep it together.
So professional Tekken player, which people play that professionally, I guess.
That I never understood those games.
Fighting games?
No, not like the game itself, but like I meant like playing them professionally. To me, it just seems like
it's oddly I can see why.
It's fun to be like.
It's more than just button smashing.
No,
honestly.
I understand, but even still, even with the technical side of it, where like, hey, this is really intense. This is what you do in these scenarios. This is, you know, I get that it's technical, like, and that's fine. But my issue is I just don't see the entertainment in that. I can even see the entertainment in things like League of Legends or Dota if you want to watch that.
Fuck League of Legends.
You know, if you're into that, I can see why the back and forth of the teams fighting each other would be fun, right? But unfortunately, whenever I've seen like professional fighting games being done, it's whoever starts their combo and doesn't fuck up first wins. And you can only do that so many times before that's just boring as fuck, right? And you know what I'm saying? That's my thing about it. There's not this back and forth and tug of war of two teams really going at it where someone can really like come in and save you. It's 100% the person got a combo off, and until you see
never stopped,
and until you see a certain move come up that you can
counter
do something
it, yeah.
about, you might as well just fucking sit there and not even touch the controller because there's no way to interrupt them.
No, there's not.
So that's why it's kind of like
fighting games are weird. But so she's been booted from the Osaka-based esports team Cyclops Athlete Gaming for remarks she made about men's height during a live stream. Following a recent spate of far more incendiary remarks. Cyclops Athlete Gaming competes in first-person shooters like PUBG, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, as well as fighting games like Tekken. She has been featured in the mainstream Japanese press, including this clip from a newspaper, Kobe Shimbun. She was, as Kotaku, Ian Walker previously wrote, a rising star, now a fallen one. In February 15th stream, Tanukana said men who are under 170 centimeters, 5'6", don't have human rights. She added that they should look into getting bone lengthening surgery.
Fuck.
To average height for men in Japan is 5'7". Just for reference, by the way. As of writing, Kotaku wasn't able to confirm the content of the entire stream. However, in this clip, Tanukana also said people with A-cup sized breasts who didn't have human rights also didn't have human rights. Let's look at you, bitch.
Maybe a B.
You ain't working with much either. So
maybe.
So She certainly has seemed to have a record of saying terrible things. Blog My Game Newsflash has dug up earlier comments Tanakana made on a live stream in 2020 in which she apparently told someone during the stream to kill themselves and that they were the trashiest trash of society. While in the West, some might interpret her remarks as poor meme or a joke, in Japan it set off a firestorm online with people calling it discriminatory, which it is. Obviously, you can read it literally as a remark against a group of people, but power dynamics makes it a bit more complicated than saying something truly discriminatory about a protected or vulnerable class. Is Kotaku kind of like siding with her on this?
That's what it sounded like.
So, while in the West, some might interpret her remarks as a poor meme or joke, in Japan it set off a firestorm. Obviously, you can read it literally as remark against a group of people, but power dynamics make it a bit more complicated than saying something truly discriminatory about a protected... So you're saying that context matters, but in your other articles, you completely disregard context.
It's because Kotaku is very woke, as far as I can tell, and... because she's a woman and she's a vulnerable class.
And she's talking about men, because fuck men, fuck Kotaku.
Well, so it's a backdoor remark. It's to say essentially like, well, it's not that bad because she doesn't have a lot of power, even though, obviously where she's at. And also too, apparently we are allowed to make fun of women with A-cup breast size though, because they didn't have anything to say about that because power dynamics make it complicated. So in a now deleted tweet, she can be seen here.
Tanakana wrote, "It was pointed out that my stream contained hate speech. She added that this was not her intention and that she poorly expressed her love for tall people." Weird way of doing that. That is equivalent to me like saying, I'm not attracted to overweight people, so all fat people should die? Or not have human rights? Like, that's the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's a weird way of saying it. So, she did apologize, but it was hardly the kind of formal apology that's become expected in Japan. This made people online even more upset. What'd she say? So, in Japanese, the word for human rights is jinkin. But in gaming parlance, jinkin refers to an item or character that all players need to have. On Twitter, a debate has ensued whether or not the slang led to Tanakana's remark. However, the slang use of the term human rights isn't widely known in Japan. So they have no human rights in Japan?
Apparently
and numerous mainstream outlets led with Tanakana's height comment. So the popular news site titled the article, "Men under 170 centimeters don't have human rights. Popular woman pro gamer says sorry for abusive language," blah, blah, blah. Is this... let's see. Cyclops also issued an apology writing, "We've confirmed on February 15th, Tanakana, who is a member of Cyclops, made an improper remark on a stream. Regarding this matter, we would like to offer a deep apology to fans, sponsors, and everyone else who supports us." So she says that she has a deep remorse for this statement, which is unbecoming of a pro esports athlete and a member of society. You don't say. You don't say. What's more, all this happened against the backdrop in which pro gamer has officially been defined in Japan and where the licenses of the game professionally. According to Japan's esports union, one of the main points that defines a pro gamer is self-awareness of being professional. That's what makes you a professional? Is the self-awareness?
I thought getting paid made you a professional.
I thought getting paid and being good at it was what made you professional.
I mean, being good at it doesn't necessarily. But...
Then I guess I'm a professional shit talker. So this stipulation seems to have been added so that esports pros are taken seriously in Japan. So what else? Let's see. Sponsors don't want controversy even if things seem blown out of proportion. It's kind of weird that you're saying that, Kotaku. So while clearly Tanakana's height comments were far from the most unpleasant remarks she's made on stream, they ended up arguably insulting. From the parent perspective of the sponsors, half of the men in the country, whereas average height is 170.8, which is most of the people in Japan, I guess. Most guys in Japan, I guess. It has been alleged that she made far worse comments during this stream, but Kotaku has been unable to verify these remarks as the stream has been deleted. And Japanese news sites have only reported the height remarks. Interesting. Yeah, so don't be short. Get leg extensions.
Yeah.
Do you know what goes into that procedure?
Well, it's very painful. It's awful, and you literally have to break your legs.
Exactly. You gotta fracture your femur, separate it, let the bone grow into each other, break it again, and rinse and repeat until you get to the certain height that your body will allow you to do. And it's a procedure that has been done. It is. I don't even understand how this procedure even under doctor supervision, how the fuck can anybody be like, how is that even like a form of medicine? Like, how do we make people taller? Like, we'll break their legs and extend them and let the bone grow in.
There's no real way to make you taller.
No, there's not. But at the same time, it's like there's got to be other things that will affect that, like muscular structure.
Well, the issue is though too is that's part of the issues. There's still a limit. Like
that's why there is a limit. It's like you could break your legs until you grow your femur to be twice the size it should be. You're going to shred ligaments and muscles in the process of that.
Yeah, of course.
And if you don't shred them right away, you're going to shred them when you try to use them properly.
When you do anything, yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm going to go for a run. As soon as you step off, your fucking quad explodes. Or your quad snaps from the fucking, from where it's by the knee, and then it rolls up into your thigh. Ugh, God. Or your hamstring rips and then rolls up into the back of your thigh. Like, shit like that. You can't just fucking grow.
Yeah, well, because
I'm not a tall guy.
Well, because we don't have any way to re-enable the growth plates.
Yeah.
So, like, nothing will naturally grow.
No,
like
nothing will naturally grow.
I don't know. No, it's just it's odd. I don't know.
So let's you want to wrap this up and go on our bourbon quest?
Sure.
You don't seem like you really want to do that.
On the bourbon quest? No, I mean, not necessarily.
Well, let me put it this way. Blanton's bourbon is one of the rarest bourbons you can ever buy.
True.
And it is insanely hard to come by. And there is a place in down in Illinois that has it in stock. And I'm about to call them once we're done here to see if they still have it. So I'm not making this 30-minute drive for no fucking reason. And I do have to feed the dogs. It is 7 o'clock and they haven't eaten.
I gotcha.
All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed the episode. Welcome back, Nelson.
Oh yes.
Me and Doc are actually going to be working on doing a digital stream test.
Oh.
So that we can do a digital recording, and all that stuff. Because he finally got his household goods the other day.
Very nice, very nice.
And so he said he's all set up and ready to go and ready to try to get this thing set up so we can do. And I need to do it for other reasons too, because besides him, I'm trying to get other guests, and most of these guests are definitely not going to be here.
That's fair.
So it's like when I get Chris Honorage. Oh, by the way, I didn't do Regiment news. Fuck it, I'll do it. I'll do it later. Regiment announced that. So there was an announcement on Regiment. So Regiment has an esports team now.
Oh, nice.
Called Veterans Gaming League.
Okay.
And basically, it's just like its own little organization where it's just straight esports and tournaments.
Nice. Okay.
For veterans only. So you got that. Aside from that, I don't have any other news. So
I don't either.
Yeah. Hopefully, there's more for next week. I hope so. These dead weeks are such a.
I feel.
But we got to fill in the gaps with like bullshit, like talking about Norse mythology and like.
I think that's why I'm here.
That is why you're here.
I still feel so bad. Like 2 weeks, a week after, I was like, "Yeah, your weekly Activision update." It stops.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, I know. All right, guys. Well, love y'all. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.
We will see you.
Have a good one.